In a world scarred by humanity's destruction of nature, a goddess set a trial, a divine warning to a species that had forgotten its place. Suddenly, dungeons appeared across the globe. Failure to clear them meant one thing: the total annihilation of humanity. Meet Suzuki Hinata, a young man born into this harsh reality. But this new world isn't fair. It's built on a system of levels and potential. While Kaikuin proudly shows off his status as an explorer, Suzuki Hinata can only offer a forced smile. Kai leans in, his voice dripping with malice. For someone of level 0 like you, it will be impossible. The laughter that follows is a sharp reminder of Hinata's place at the bottom. Since the dungeons appeared, society has become a place where the strong devour the weak. And Suzuki Hinata? He is the weakest of them all, an explorer in name only. The ridicule is constant. There's no way you can be one. Kai yells, joined by the laughter of those who see Hinata as nothing more than a joke. Level 0, rank F potential, the lowest of the low. Even as Hinata tries to stay positive, Kai's aggressive taunts never stop. How could the weakest person in the world even dream of entering a dungeon? This isn't new. For a long time, Hinata has been ridiculed and despised just for his level. He left his hometown and enrolled at Seishin High School just to escape that toxic environment. But fate is cruel. His reputation as the eternal level 0 followed him here. And to make matters worse, Kai is here too, ready to make his life a living hell. A sudden shadow passes overhead. Hinata looks up, his eyes widening as he spots an airship in the sky, a symbol of the elite explorers he dreams of joining. The top 100 chosen explorers are everyone's heroes, their names etched into the rankings. Hinata knows he's far from that. No one would even accept him into a group. In the dungeons, danger is everywhere. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes. A presence so strong it makes the air feel heavy. A girl walks by, her gaze sharp and cold. It's Kimui Hinata, the strongest student and the daughter of the legendary Kimui clan leader. With S-rank potential, she's a world apart from everyone else. The whispers of admiration follow her every step. In the classroom, Suzuki Hinata is starstruck. Is that really the famous Kimui Hinata? The teacher's voice breaks his trance, ordering the students to introduce themselves. Fate plays a strange trick as Suzuki Hinata ends up sitting right behind Kimui Hinata. He can feel the piercing glares from the other students. When it's her turn, she introduces herself with cold, unwavering confidence. In this world, humanity examines potential capacity at birth from S rank to F rank. But as some students point out, even an F rank doesn't mean you can't excel, right? But the reality is harsh. Potential is just potential. To truly become strong, the difference in level is everything. And Hinata is stuck at 0. Some try to be optimistic, saying that as long as you level up, anyone has a chance. But they've never heard of an F-rank person actually succeeding. Hinata listens, the weight of reality pressing down on him. Everyone around him is already level 4, 5, or 6. Back in his small room, number 307, Hinata lies on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Normally, levels start at 1, but for some reason, he is F rank and level 0. A glitch in a world governed by numbers. A message from his sister lights up his phone. She's working hard to follow him to Seishin High. Even though he told her not to contact him, her bright spirit is a painful reminder of why he can't give up. Hinata clenches his fist. He came to this school to become an explorer, to earn enough money to provide a comfortable life for his mom and sister. He's at his limit, but he refuses to quit. I have to try it with all my might, he resolves. He can't show a pathetic face to his sister. Maybe, just maybe, if he defeats monsters in a dungeon, he can finally break past level 0. Hinata stands before dungeon E117. It's his first step into a world of danger. The words "I can't give up" echo in his mind as he prepares to cross the threshold. The nearest beginner's dungeon is E117. The receptionist offers this advice along with a map, reminding Hinata that for an explorer, survival is the only thing that matters. Hinata's yes is more than just an answer, it's a vow to himself. As he approaches the official registration counter, his nerves begin to fray. He calls out tentatively into the quiet hall, startled when the staff member suddenly pops up from under the desk. The formal process to become an explorer is finally about to begin. At the registration counter, the receptionist welcomes Suzuki Hinata with a clumsy, high-energy smile. She recognizes his Seishin high school uniform and excitedly prepares to grant him his license. Hinata, feeling the weight of the moment, nods nervously. The receptionist fumbles around, frantically looking for the evaluation box. After a moment of panicked searching, she finally presents a crystal orb. This crystal is the standard tool used to evaluate an explorer's rank based on their color-coded potential. Hinata reaches out, his heart hammering in his chest. As Hinata touches the cold surface of the orb, old memories of failure flood his mind. The crystal begins to react, but instead of glowing with a vibrant rank color, it starts to fill with a thick, unsettling darkness. I remember this. He thinks, a sense of dread washing over him. The orb turns a deep, absolute black. In this world, black means no color, no rank, and no ability. It is the signature of a level 0. But this time, the darkness feels alive, swirling as if it were literally devouring him from the inside out. Panic takes hold as the darkness isn't just a reading on the crystal. It's physically pulling him in. Why did it happen to me? Again, he screams internally as his vision begins to warp and dissolve into the abyss. A few minutes later, the receptionist returns to the counter with a license book, her face bright with an apologetic smile. But the boy in the white uniform is gone. She looks around, confused, wondering if he simply lost his nerve and went home without saying a word. But Suzuki Hinata is nowhere near the registration hall. He is plummeting through a void of swirling, dark energy, his world turning upside down. What the hell is? Am I falling? He yells, the wind whistling past his ears in the lightless void. The descent feels endless. Plummeting into the unknown, Hinata wonders if he's being sent straight to hell. The school halls and his sister's face feel like a distant dream as he falls deeper into the shadows. Finally, the falling stops. Hinata picks himself up from the ground, gasping for air. It's so dark he can't see anything. In the distance, silhouetted against a canopy of stars, stand an imposing, Gothic castle. Where am I? He whispers, his hands trembling. Suddenly, a mechanical system voice shatters the silence. The area is identified. Lucifer's Fall. Due to the extreme hardships he just survived, Hinata is notified that he has acquired a rare skill, dungeon information. He stares in shock at the glowing text in his mind. Skills? Voice. Hinata's mind races as another notification appears. He's gained surrounding exploration. He begins to realize that Lucifer's Fall isn't just a name, it's a dungeon. He has been dropped into a place meant for legends, not level 0s. Suddenly, a searing pain rips through his body. Something in the environment is attacking him on a microscopic level. He claws at the ground, gasping as the system voice continues its cold narration. Resistance to foreign objects acquired. His body is being forced to adapt just to survive the air he's breathing. He collapses, his vision blurring. The hardships of Lucifer's Fall are relentless. Every second is a battle for life. The system announces another gain, resistance to abnormal states. His body is mutating, hardening against the lethality of the dungeon. The pain is unbearable. Someone help! He gasps as his skills begin to evolve rapidly under the extreme pressure. Resistance becomes immunity. Medium becomes high. His body is being forged in a crucible of suffering into something that can withstand the impossible. His eyes snap open. For a split second, he thinks he's back in his room, lying safely in his bed. Was it a dream? He wonders, his heart still racing from the phantom pain. But the cold, hard ground and the strange atmosphere quickly pull him back to reality. The relief is short-lived. He realizes that if he had fainted in a normal dungeon, it would have been certain death. He's still lying on the ground in that dark forest. The voice from earlier wasn't a hallucination. It mentioned skills, Skills. Hinata mutters, holding his head. He's only ever heard of those in games or from top-tier explorers. He stands up, still disoriented but alive, and realizes he has to figure out exactly what happened to him during that fall. He summons his status screen, and a list of skills appears. He's obtained skill list due to his hardships. Passive skills like foreign substance resistance and dungeon information fill the screen. It's overwhelming, but it's the only thing keeping him from falling back into despair. He tests the environment exploration skill. It's like a mini-map projected in the corner of his vision. He notices something terrifying. The air contains extreme-level poison and extreme-level paralyzer. If not for his new immunity, he would have been a corpse within minutes. He resolves to find an exit. Recalling his beginner's guides, Hinata knows dungeons are full of traps. As he struggles to see in the pitch black, the system rewards his persistence. Night vision acquired. Suddenly, the forest is bathed in a ghostly light, revealing the path and the castle looming in the distance. Despite his hunger-resistant skill, Hinata's throat is parched. He wanders through the trees and finds a miracle, a pond. "It's water!" he cries out, his relief palpable as he rushes toward the dark liquid. He scoops up a handful of water. It has a strange, dark color, but he tells himself it's just the night vision messing with his perception. Desperate for any hydration, he begins to drink. The water tastes absolutely vile, like rot and chemicals. Hinata gags as another system message blares. Danger! Due to the lethal substance, his vitality recovery skill has evolved into high. His panic spikes. Are monsters approaching, or is the water itself a threat? Hinata gags, spitting the water out instantly as it sears his throat like liquid fire. It's a brutal reminder that in this dungeon, even the most basic elements are lethal. Whatever hope he had for an easy path out vanishes with the bitter taste left in his mouth. It's pure poison, he realizes, saved only by his altered state immunity, kicking in once more. Staring at the eerie castle through the trees, Hinata understands the gravity of his situation. In Lucifer's fall, even a drink of water is a death trap, and he'll need every ounce of caution to survive the long journey ahead. Suzuki Hinata continues his trek through the jagged rocks and dense, eerie foliage of Lucifer's fall. Every step is heavy with the weight of his own fear as he navigates the alien landscape. Every breath is a struggle. Panting heavily, Hinata looks around at the towering cliffs, wondering where an exit could possibly be. He hasn't even received his explorer's license yet. How did he end up in a place this dangerous? He realizes his situation is beyond dire. Suddenly, a cold shiver runs down his spine. The air feels heavy, pressing against him with a suffocating weight. He stops, his eyes wide as he senses something massive and predatory is very close. He turns his head slowly, and his heart nearly stops. Looming over him is the head of a nightmare, a massive, obsidian-scaled beast with glowing eyes and a mouth filled with serrated teeth. It's so close he can feel the heat of its breath. Paralyzed by the sheer scale of the creature, Hinata can barely think. This has to be a joke. He whispers as the monster lets out a low, vibrating growl that shakes the ground beneath his feet. This isn't a beginner-level monster. This is an irregular, a creature far beyond the capabilities of any F rank. He expected slimes or goblins, but this is a floor boss level threat. He realizes that in this dungeon, the normal rules of progression don't apply. He tries to back away silently, hoping the beast will lose interest. But his boot catches on a dry branch. The sharp snap echoes through the clearing like a gunshot. The monster's slitted pupils lock onto him instantly. Is all he can manage as his heart hammers against his ribs. With a roar that shakes the very cliffs, the monster lunges. Hinata screams, his instincts finally overriding his terror as he bolts into a desperate sprint. "I have to get out of here!" he yells, his feet barely touching the ground. He's running for his life, but he knows he can't outrun a beast that size. Just as he feels its shadow looming over him, the system triggers once more. A notification blinks in his vision. due to danger. In the face of certain death, he acquires a new skill, Speed Boost. And it doesn't stop there. The skill immediately evolves into Speed Boost Medium. His legs feel lighter, his vision sharpening as he gains a burst of unnatural momentum. Hinata becomes a blur of movement, zigzagging through the narrow paths as the irregular crashes through the landscape behind him, snapping trees like they were twigs. The chase is on, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Even with his new speed, the monster is relentless. It clears massive distances with every bound, its roars growing louder and closer. What? Hinata cries out, realizing he's still being closed in on. The system pushes him further. Speed boost high. Speed boost very high. Hinata feels his muscles burning, fueled by pure adrenaline and the system's mysterious power as he pushes himself beyond human limits. Finally, the skill reaches hyperspeed. Hinata becomes a streak of light, barely visible as he manages to gain a few precious yards on the snarling beast. All right, I managed to escape, he thinks, hope flaring for the first time. He breaks into a dense forest, hoping the trees will slow down his pursuer. But no matter how fast he goes, the sense of dread doesn't diminish. In this place, even hyperspeed might not be enough. He stops to catch his breath, but the shadow returns. The monster emerges from the trees, its massive frame blotting out the stars. It's been following him the whole time, seemingly untired by the chase. Its eyes fix on Hinata, saliva dripping from its maw. Hinata stands frozen, sweat stinging his eyes. His lungs feel like they're filled with glass. He's a level 0, an F rank. How can he possibly fight something this powerful? The despair threatens to swallow him whole once more. The monster lunges, and Hinata is forced into another desperate dodge. Shit, but what can I do? Should I fight? He wonders. He realizes he's trapped. Running is no longer an option. If he wants to live, he has to take a stand. No, I can't die here, he yells, a crazed, defiant grin spreading across his face. He remembers that hardship brings skills. If he fights this monster, maybe he can acquire the power he needs to win. I can do this. But his bravado crumbles the moment the beast opens its mouth again. A dark energy gathers in its throat as it prepares to unleash a roar that feels like it could shatter the forest. No, this is impossible after all, he screams. The monster leaps into the air, its massive weight coming down like a meteor. Hinata barely manages to roll away as the ground explodes where he was standing just a heartbeat before. He scrambles through the dirt, dodging swipe after swipe from the creature's claws. Every movement is a miracle of instinct and luck, but the monster is unrelenting, its speed matching his own evolved reflexes. Finally, he collapses, every muscle screaming in agony. I've run so much that I have no energy left. He gasps, his vision swimming. The monster stands over him, its jaws dripping with dark slime as it prepares for the final strike. The system rings out one more time. Endurance increase acquired due to extreme danger. Hinata looks up, gasping for air, and notices the monster has momentarily halted. Nice! With this, maybe I can outlast it. He thinks, but then a question arises. Why has it stopped? Is the predator finally feeling the fatigue of the hunt? As he scans his surroundings, his blood turns to ice. He's back at the beginning. His heel is inches away from the black, shimmering surface of the lake of deadly poison. Trapped between a god of destruction and a literal pool of death, a dark, reckless thought begins to flicker in Hinata's mind. Standing at the edge of the lake, a desperate idea takes hold of Suzuki Hinata. If this black water is lethal to him, it might be the only thing that can stop the beast. He scoops up the poisonous liquid in his palms, his eyes narrowing with a newfound resolve. The irregular beast closes in, its massive jaws dripping with anticipation. Hinata stands his ground, glancing between the poison in his hands and the looming nightmare. This is his only shot, and he knows it. He prepares to strike as the monster prepares to lunge. Take this! He roars, putting every ounce of his strength into hurling the toxic water directly at the monster's sensitive eyes and open mouth. It's a strike born of pure desperation. The effect is instantaneous and horrific. The poison sizzles against the creature's hide, sending it into a violent recoil. Hinata realizes he was right. Even a god of destruction in this dungeon is vulnerable to the concentrated lethality of the poisonous lake. "You must fear this water," he shouts. The beast's roars of dominance turn into screams of absolute agony as the poison eats through its scales. Hinata watches with cold intensity, the hunter and hunted roles finally beginning to shift in his favor. This is the first time he's ever truly felt the power of survival. He doesn't let up, using the water like a weapon as the beast thrashes in its final moments of suffering. The surrounding forest is filled with the sounds of the monster's dying struggle. Finally, the massive irregular collapses, its body dissolving into a cloud of steam. But Hinata remembers his training. Be careful just when you think you've defeated a monster. He waits, his heart still racing, ensuring the nightmare is truly over. The beast is gone, leaving only its remains. Hinata approaches the carcass, exhaling a long breath of relief. He looks at the massive bones and thick skin, wondering if such a powerful entity left anything behind that could help him escape this hell. The system chimes again. His tactical thinking has earned him the skill. Monster dissection. A list of loot categories appears in his mind's eye, and Hinata realizes that even as a level 0, his good ideas are becoming his most powerful weapons. He pulls up his growing status menu to examine his arsenal. Passive skills like Altered State Immunity are active, while his new active skills like Monster Dissection wait to be used. He decides it's time to harvest the rewards of his near-death experience and activates the skill on the irregular's remains. In a flash of light, the monster's corpse is processed. In its place stands a mountain of loot, massive bone structures and stacks of reinforced skin. Hinata stands back, stunned by the sheer volume of high-grade materials he just acquired. "What a great amount of materials!" he exclaims, his eyes lighting up. But then he finds the true prize, a magic stone so large it puts anything found in an E-rank dungeon to shame. He knows this gem alone could sell for a fortune, potentially changing his family's life forever. The joy is quickly replaced by a practical nightmare. How is a single boy supposed to carry a mountain of bone and skin? He wishes for a magic backpack or some kind of inventory skill, realizing he can't leave this wealth behind. As if hearing his thoughts, the system grants him another reward: dimensional storage. His good ideas continue to break the rules of the dungeon. He celebrates with a triumphant, "perfect," before collapsing from the mental exhaustion of the day. He opens the new storage interface, seeing his loot neatly listed: hundreds of bones, stacks of skin, and that massive magic stone. He tests the power, pulling a huge bone into reality just by thinking about it. "This is very useful," he mutters, his confidence growing. He turns back to the lake, wondering if he can store the poisonous water for later use. But as he tries to scoop it into his inventory, the system refuses. It seems liquids from the dungeon environment are off-limits. It doesn't make sense to keep thinking about it. He sighs, "I should keep moving forward." Hinata begins his journey toward the distant castle again. The air is still heavy, but he feels different. He's no longer just a victim of this dungeon. He's a survivor. He looks at his hands, still stained with the dirt of the battle. He reflects on the fact that he, the weakest explorer, somehow defeated a monster of that magnitude. It feels like a dream, yet the massive bone in his storage proves it was very real. But then, he looks at his status one more time. 0 multiplied by any number is still 0. No matter how many skills he gains, or how many monsters he slays, his level remains a mocking 0. The system's cruel math is a constant reminder of the wall he still needs to overcome. "My level remains the same," he whispers. New enemies appear, a group of rabbit-like monsters blocking the path. Hinata tries to move stealthily, knowing that in this place, Even small enemies can be lethal. He grits his teeth, determined not to be noticed. Again, he thinks as more emerge from the shadows. He accidentally steps on a twig, but instead of the usual panic, the system rewards him for the difficulty of the moment with trap detection and trap invalidation. The rabbits lunge at him from all directions, but Hinata's reflexes are already shifting into a higher gear. His new speed is absolute. He dodges the rabbits with effortless, fluid motions, his body moving almost before his mind can process the threat. The small monsters can't even touch his uniform. He realizes with a shock that these rabbits feel like they're moving through syrup. Compared to the irregular he just fought, they are incredibly slow. It seems his hyperspeed has transcended normal perception. Is it thanks to my speed increase? He wonders, amazed. Seeing a massive opening in the rabbit's uncoordinated assault, Hinata's eyes sharpen with a newfound resolve. No more running. He clenches his fist, ready to test his physical strength against these new foes for the very first time. He unleashes a flurry of punches, his speed making him a blur. Take this. Take that. The rabbits are sent flying, unable to even react to the boy they once considered prey. Level 0 or not, Suzuki Hinata is finally fighting back, the air around him beginning to pulse with the intensity of his growing power. Suzuki Hinata clenches his fist, the air around him vibrating with the intensity of his focus. He watches the rabbit-like monsters jump through the air, his eyes tracking their every move with supernatural clarity. He's ready to turn his survival instincts into a weapon. He connects with a powerful strike, and the system chimes instantly. Bare hand strengthening, acquired through combat experience. For the first time, Hinata feels a power that doesn't come from a rank, but from his own blood and sweat. He doesn't stop, punching one rabbit after another. The thrill of victory is intoxicating. I've been waiting for this, he shouts, realizing that while others were born with power, he's earning his one punch at a time. The system's constant rewards are proof that his struggle isn't in vain. The notifications keep stacking up as he fights. In the middle of the skirmish, the system announces an evolution. Bare hand strengthening has become martial arts. He's no longer just a boy flailing in the dark. He's becoming a true warrior of Lucifer's fall. Skill after skill pours in. Fear resistance, pressure resistance enhancement, and emergency evasion. His body moves on pure instinct now, dancing between the attackers with a grace that defies his level 0 status. He realizes that even though his level isn't increasing, his body is evolving on its own. I won't be a burden, he resolves. He knows that in this world, a level 0 is usually nothing more than dead weight to a party. To avoid that future, he'll grind until he has every skill the system can provide. His fists are his only path forward. If you work hard, you'll be rewarded. He roars the words as he clears the remaining enemies. He is the living embodiment of those words now. A boy who was thrown away by society only to rebuild himself in the heart of hell. His legend is being written in the dirt and blood of the dungeon. With the battle over, he checks his haul. Meat, bones, and magic stones, enough to fill his new dimensional storage. He notices that the magic stones from this dungeon are much larger and purer than any beginner guides ever mentioned. This loot is worth a fortune. He gathers his thoughts and his loot. For now, the goal is simple: survive and get back to the world above. He clutches a magic stone, thinking of the life he can finally build for his sister and mother once he gets out of this nightmare. I'll just survive, he tells himself. There, at the end of the path, a blinding white light. The exit. He takes a final look back at the abyss of Lucifer's fall. The place that should have been his grave, but became his rebirth. His first monster and his first dungeon are finally behind him. With a determined stride, he steps into the light. The first time he starts to say, his heart full of a feeling he's never known, triumph. The boy who walked in as a nobody is walking out as something the world isn't prepared for. Back in the quiet, sterile air of the registration hall, the receptionist is busy at her desk. She looks up, her face a mask of professional boredom, completely unaware of the miracle that's about to walk through her door. "KYA!" she screams, jumping nearly a foot in the air as Hinata suddenly appears before her. "Are you okay?" she gasps, her paperwork flying everywhere. Hinata stands there, looking slightly embarrassed by his own dramatic entrance. The receptionist scolds him for scaring her half to death. "Hey you!" When entering the reception desk, "Make a noise," she yells. But then she stops, her eyes widening as she recognizes the student who had seemingly vanished into thin air yesterday. "Aren't you the student from yesterday? A whole day?" Hinata is stunned. He had no idea he had been unconscious or lost in that dungeon for so long. The receptionist looks at him with a mix of pity and suspicion, wondering what he's been doing all this time. "I'm lucky to be alive," he mutters. She continues her explanation of the Explorer license, even as she eyes his disheveled uniform. Hinata listens, relieved that the bureaucratic part of his journey is finally nearing its end. He just wants to get home and see his family. "Want to hear more about it?" she asks, regaining her composure. "Then please put your hand in this box," she says, presenting the licensing device with an energetic shout. Hinata reaches out, the memory of his previous failure weighing on him. He takes a deep breath and places his hand inside. "Yes," he whispers. Black smoke billows from the box the moment his skin touches the surface. The receptionist panics, thinking the machine has malfunctioned. "Black smoke? She screams. But Hinata just looks at her with a calm, almost sad smile. "It's okay. Since birth, I've been level 0. "Level 0, she yells, her voice echoing through the hall. She looks at him as if he were a ghost. Realizing she might have been too blunt, she quickly tries to apologize. Hinata just waves it off. "No, it's okay," he says, used to the shock his status causes. Finally, she hands him his license with a warm smile. "Congratulations. You're now a full-fledged explorer too." Hinata looks at the card, his heart swelling with pride. He thinks of the small magic stones he gathered. They might only be pocket money to some, but to him, they're the key to his family's survival. "Yay! Thank you so much." Hinata cheers, his youthful energy returning. But as he celebrates, a news alert flashes on a nearby screen. Amazingly, a new explorer has seized the #1 rank in the world, and their name is listed as a series of question marks. Has taken first place. Hinata watches the news with genuine amazement, completely unaware that he is the one they're talking about. First place, that's nice, he thinks. Someday, I'll make it into the rankings too. For now, he's just happy his life is finally stabilizing. Historic points never seen before. And he has no clue. The world is taking notice. High-ranking explorers like Kimui Hinata and even the bully Kai stare at the screens in disbelief. The sudden appearance of has changed everything. The status quo of the explorer world has been shattered by a shadow from the abyss. The chapter concludes with Hinata's resolute, determined gaze. Not even the unknown himself knows the truth yet. No one knows that the new king of the rankings is the boy everyone called a failure. The legend starts with 0. To be continued. The final curtain falls on a staggering list of accomplishments. Suzuki Hinata has acquired an arsenal of passive and active skills that should be impossible for a level 0. From dimensional storage to abnormal status immunity, the foundation of a god has been laid. The journey of the weakest has only just begun. After surviving the hellish dungeon, Suzuki Hinata heads straight to the item exchange center. He's eager to turn his loot into cash, but there's a problem. The high-tech scanners can't even read the rank X magic stone he brought back. Suzuki Hinata is stunned. "What do you mean? No appraisal is possible," he stammers, staring at the screen in disbelief. After all he went through, he never expected the system itself to fail him. It's not just the stone. The unknown skin and mysterious bones are all coming back with the same error. It seems Suzuki Hinata has brought back things that are far beyond the current world's understanding. He holds a small, ordinary-looking magic stone, sweating as he wonders if the machine is simply broken. If he can't sell these, his struggle for survival might have been for nothing. Suddenly, the machine chimes. A single magic stone from a rare rabbit is appraised at a whopping 300,000 yen. Suzuki Hinata is nearly knocked back by the price, but he quickly regains his composure. He decides to sell just one for now. A high school student with too much money would only attract unwanted attention. Exhausted but significantly richer, Suzuki Hinata finally makes it back to the school dormitory. The weight of the day's events is finally starting to catch up with him. At the entrance, he's greeted by the dorm manager, Sano-san. She's surprised to see him back so late and in such a state, but her stern expression softens into a welcoming smile. Sano-san looks at him with genuine concern. "Please don't overdo it," she says gently. "Above all, take care of your life, okay?" To Suzuki Hinata, who has been treated like trash for being level 0, her kindness feels incredibly warm. He realizes he's covered in dirt and grime from the dungeon, feeling a bit embarrassed under Sano-san's watchful eye. He definitely needs a shower, and fast. But then, Sano-san offers her sincere congratulations. "Explorer Suzuki," she calls him, acknowledging his new status. A broad smile breaks across Suzuki Hinata's face. It's the first time someone has truly recognized his hard work. He bows deeply, thanking her with all his heart. In this moment, the reality of becoming an explorer finally sinks in. He's no longer just the weakest in the world. Later, in the laundry room, he bumps into a friendly student named Fuji Hiroto. Fuji is taken aback by the massive stains on Suzuki Hinata's clothes. "Wow, were you just in a dungeon?" he asks, his curiosity piqued. Fuji Hiroto introduces himself with an easygoing wink. He explains that everyone gets dirty when they're starting out as explorers. It's a normal part of the job, after all. When Suzuki Hinata mentions he just came back from the E-rank dungeon 117, Fuji is impressed. He notes that while most people aim for the harder-to-rank dungeons, clearing any dungeon is no small feat for a beginner. But when he hears Suzuki Hinata went in alone, Fuji Hiroto's jaw drops. You went alone," he shouts, his eyes wide with shock. Even for an E-rank, going solo is incredibly dangerous. Despite his shock, Fuji Hiroto kindly offers to team up next time. Suzuki Hinata smiles, touched by the gesture. He realizes that Fuji is a truly kind person, a rare find in a school that usually looks down on people like him. The school day ends, but for Suzuki Hinata, the peace is short-lived. As he's packing up, a familiar, menacing voice calls out to him. It's Guy, the boy who has made his life a living hell. Guy demands that Suzuki Hinata follow him, his face contorted in a sneer. In the past, this look would have sent shivers down Hinata's spine. Guy was the ultimate symbol of terror in his high school life. They head to a secluded walkway. Guy is ready to dish out another round of discipline, completely unaware that the boy standing before him has changed. To Guy, he's still just level 0. But Suzuki Hinata feels nothing but calm. Thanks to his new passive skills, fear resistance, and bullying resistance, Guy's intimidation has 0 effect. He clenches his fist, realizing that his effort might finally be rewarded. Guy lunges forward with a punch, shouting for the show to begin. But to Suzuki Hinata's eyes, the attack is moving in slow motion. It is too slow? He wonders, almost bored. He effortlessly sidesteps the blow, leaving Guy swinging at thin air. The bully is furious and confused. How could the school's weakest student dodge him so easily? Guy tries again, but it's pathetic. Suzuki Hinata realizes that compared to the monsters he fought in the E-rank dungeon, Guy's attacks are like a child's tantrum. Even the magic rabbits were more threatening than this. A sharp sense of determination washes over Suzuki Hinata. "Now I can," he whispers, ready to break the cycle of fear once and for all. But just as he's about to counterattack, a sudden, bone-chilling cold pierces through the air, stopping everyone in their tracks. An overwhelming wave of frost sweeps across the rooftop, freezing Guy in his tracks. In the midst of the chill, a system alert flashes. Suzuki Hinata has gained cold resistance, simply from the intensity of the aura. Behind them stands the S-rank genius, Kamui Shizuku. Her mere presence turning the world around them into a landscape of ice. Kai, is trembling, his previous bravado completely vanished as he stares at the newcomer. Standing there is Kamui Shizuku, the top-ranked student, her presence alone freezing the very air. Guy tries to regain his footing, barking that this has nothing to do with her, but even he can't ignore the sheer pressure she's emitting. Suzuki Hinata can only look on in shock, never expecting someone like Kamui Shizuku to intervene. Unable to withstand the freezing aura, Kai scrambles away, shouting that Suzuki Hinata will remember this. It's a pathetic sight for someone who is just acting like a king. Suzuki Hinata, still trying to process what happened, turns to thank Kamui Shizuku for the help. He's never seen the legendary Ice Queen this close before. Kamui Shizuku remains silent, her expression unreadable and cold as ever. Suzuki Hinata's mind is racing, wondering if he should have apologized or if he did something wrong. In his imagination, his sister's voice rings out, joking that a woman's heart is a complicated thing that a level 0 like him could never understand. He's left in an awkward silence, not knowing how to react. Suddenly, the coldness intensifies, swirling around Kamui Shizuku in a violent vortex. Suzuki Hinata is nearly blown off his feet by the sudden gust of freezing wind. The ground beneath them begins to frost over instantly, as if a winter storm just descended upon the rooftop. "Whoa!" he cries out, shielding his eyes from the biting air. As the temperature drops even further, a system message pings in Suzuki Hinata's mind. He has acquired the freezing resistance skill due to the extreme exposure. He's confused and terrified. Is Kamui Shizuku actually attacking him? He can barely see through the white frost as she stands in the center of the blizzard. The rattling of the nearby doors underscores the intensity of the power release. Suzuki Hinata realizes he needs to get away before he's completely frozen solid. He doesn't want to expose himself to this lethal cold any longer than he has to. It's not just a chill, it's a force that's trying to consume everything around it. Despite his fear, he can't just run away while someone seems to be suffering. He wonders why she's attacking him, but a deeper instinct tells him that something is very wrong. "I have to find a way to escape, but I don't want to die either," he thinks, his adrenaline surging as he tries to find a gap in the icy winds. He braces himself, determined to at least defend himself against this overwhelming aura. Looking at Kamui Shizuku, he sees her eye wide with distress, suggesting she's not doing this on purpose. He realizes this isn't an attack. It's a scream for help from someone whose power has spiraled out of control. The struggle continues as the icy energy lashes out, tearing through the air. Suzuki Hinata stands his ground, his new resistance barely keeping him conscious. He sees Kamui Shizuku clenching her teeth, her body shaking as she fights to regain control of the power that's leaking out of her. It's a battle of will against a force of nature. Suddenly, the blizzard dies down, and Kamui Shizuku collapses to her knees, sobbing. "I'm sorry." She gasps through her tears, her previously cold demeanor completely shattered. Suzuki Hinata is frozen for a different reason now, shock. He never expected the most powerful girl in school to be so vulnerable. Is all he can manage as he watches her cry. Kamui Shizuku is inconsolable, crying out that she's too scared and can't stand it anymore. "What?" Suzuki Hinata exclaims, his brain struggling to reconcile this sobbing girl with the Ice Queen. He realizes that her power isn't a gift to her, but a terrifying burden that she's forced to carry alone every single day. Looking at him through tear-filled eyes, Kamui Shizuku realizes something. He isn't normal. Despite being called level 0 by everyone, including the teachers, he's been hiding an incredible power. No one noticed, but she felt it. He stood in the middle of her storm and didn't break. He's been hiding his true self from the world all along. She wonders why Kai, would ever be foolish enough to provoke someone like him. To her, Guy's actions seem like a death wish. How could anyone look at this monster and see anything but strength? Suzuki Hinata's simple smile masks a depth of power that she can't even begin to measure, making the world's ranking system look like a joke. The secret of her strength is revealed as the blessing of the ice god, an S-rank latent ability. It's a power that makes her one of the most feared students in school, but as she stands on the rooftop, it's clear that it's also her greatest curse. She watches Suzuki Hinata, her mind reeling from the fact that he's still standing after taking her power head-on. She explains that the power constantly emits a powerful coldness from within. If she lets her guard down for even a second, it leaks out and harms anyone nearby. He took my attack directly and didn't freeze. She thinks, staring at her hand where the mark of the ice god glows. He's the first person she's ever seen who could survive her leaks. The inner turmoil is evident on her face as she admits how scary it is to live with such a destructive force. She doesn't want to die, and she certainly doesn't want to kill others, but she feels helpless. "What should I do?" she cries out, her voice filled with a despair that's been building up for years in the silence of her lonely room. Suzuki Hinata approaches her slowly, his expression softening as he understands the truth. "Were you scared because you scolded Gaikuin?" he asks gently. He realizes that her icy silence wasn't arrogance, but a desperate attempt to keep everyone safe from herself. The girl everyone fears is actually the one who's most afraid. Shizuka nods, explaining that if she lets her guard down, she might release the full power of the god within her. She apologizes again, realizing that she misunderstood his intentions and almost hurt him. Even though he went through such a terrifying experience, he's still standing there, showing her a kindness she never thought possible for someone like her. Suzuki Hinata lets out a long sigh, feeling a mix of relief and sympathy. He reaches into his pocket, his movements deliberate and calm. Kamui Shizuku looks up, her eyes wide as she waits to see what he'll do. For the first time, someone isn't running away from her in fear or trying to exploit her power. He reaches out and gently wipes away her tears with a clean handkerchief. Kamui Shizuku's eyes widen in absolute shock, her face flushing a deep red. No one has ever been this close to her, let alone touched her so tenderly. In this moment, the Ice Queen is just a girl who's finally found someone who isn't afraid of the cold. This time, it's completely my fault. Suzuki Hinata stammers, his own face heating up as he realizes how bold he's being. He's incredibly embarrassed, but he can't ignore his desire to help her. "If there's anything, even something I could do," he offers, his heart pounding against his ribs as he waits for her reaction. Thanks for helping me," he says, his voice shaky but sincere. He promises that if she ever has any problems, he'll do anything to help. Anything, he emphasizes, his determination overcoming his shyness. Kamui Shizuku sits on the rooftop, her back to the sunset, staring at this strange boy who's offering her a lifeline in her frozen world. He vows to help to the best of his abilities, his eyes burning with a genuine desire to be useful to her. Kamui Shizuku is completely taken aback by his selflessness. "Why is this person being so kind to me?" she wonders, her heart skipping a beat. She spent her life being treated as a weapon or a disaster, but to him, she's just a person in need. Shizuku gazes at him, her eyes searching for any sign of pity before whispering, "Really?" Suzuki Hinata nods with a firm, blushing resolve, swearing to himself to never let her down. This simple promise acts as a warm hearth in her frozen world. As she hides her blushing face in his handkerchief, Shizuka finally feels a connection that her status as an S-rank genius usually keeps at a distance. Under the amber glow of the setting sun, an unlikely bond is forged between the school's level 0 and its most feared Ice Queen. Shizuku takes a deep breath, her gaze lingering on the boy who stood unmoved by her freezing aura. She's about to ask a favor, a request so unexpected it will force Hinata to notice just how much his own body has evolved during this encounter. This quiet rooftop is only the beginning of their journey. Reviewing his status, Suzuki Hinata is amazed to see the new passive skills, cold resistance, and freezing resistance. His survival in the extreme blizzard has clearly forced his body to adapt, adding to a growing list of powerful abilities like item repair and martial arts. His potential as a level 0 is beginning to defy all logic. Back on the rooftop, Suzuki Hinata is caught off guard by Kamui Shizuku's sudden request. "Huh, is that okay with you?" he asks, his voice betraying his confusion. It's hard to believe this S-rank genius actually needs help from someone like him, the school's notorious bottom tier. In his mind, his sister's advice echoes, something about apologizing with all his might and fulfilling a girl's wishes. Suzuki Hinata decides to take it to heart. "Understood. I'll do it for Kamui-san," he vows. Kamui Shizuku responds with a soft thank you, her lonely silhouette illuminated by the beautiful setting sun as they form a secret pact. As they walk together through the school grounds, Suzuki Hinata can't help but admire her. Being an S rank is incredible, he thinks. He wonders if her stoic expression is a shield to keep her dangerous, ice god, powers in check. After all, one wrong move, and everything around her could freeze in an instant. When it's time to part ways, Suzuki Hinata waves goodbye, heading back to his dorm. He reflects on the fact that even the legendary Kamui Shizuku has things she fears, like guys bullying. At the end of the day, she's still just a high school girl with her own internal struggles. Kamui Shizuku smiles gently as she says goodbye, but Suzuki Hinata's imaginary sister isn't happy with him. "You shouldn't let a girl go back alone," she lectures in his head. Suzuki Hinata is left flustered, realizing he might have failed a basic rule of social etiquette. Over dinner, Suzuki Hinata is still overthinking things. He's never really talked seriously to girls besides his sister, so he has no idea what the right answer is in these social situations. He's a pro at dungeon survival, but navigating school life is proving to be a whole different kind of challenge. His friend Fuji Hiroto suddenly pops up, startling him mid-bite. "Hinata-kun, can I sit next to you?" Fuji asks with his usual bubbly energy. Suzuki Hinata is happy for the distraction, even if Fuji's arrival is a bit abrupt for his racing thoughts. Suzuki Hinata's jaw drops as he watches Fuji Hiroto dig into a mountain of food. "There's so much," he exclaims, watching in disbelief as the pile of pancakes and fried shrimp disappears. He genuinely wonders where all that food fits in Fuji's small body. Fuji Hiroto notices the look on his face and pouts. "Hey, were you just thinking of me like I'm a little animal?" he accuses. Suzuki Hinata can't help it. In his mind, Fuji is exactly like a cute, sparkly puppy that you just want to protect. Fuji huffs, insisting he's actually quite masculine, which only makes Suzuki Hinata more amused. He notices Fuji looks a bit troubled, though, and asks if he has any worries. It seems everyone at this school has their own hidden burdens to carry. They talk about the situation with Kamui Shizuku. Suzuki Hinata explains that he let her walk home alone since he lives in the dorms. Fuji Hiroto just chuckles, shaking his head at his friend's complete cluelessness. "Girls are hard to understand," he sighs. Fuji Hiroto gives him some actual advice. While his sister's rules might make sense, it really just depends on whether the girl herself wanted company or not. Suzuki Hinata is stunned. He never considered that Kamui Shizuku might have actually wanted him to stay with her longer. The realization hits him like a truck. "I see. Kamui-san probably wouldn't like being with someone like me," he groans, clutching his head in frustration. He's mortified at the thought that he might have completely misread her feelings and her silent plea for company. Fuji Hiroto laughs, suggesting that he and Suzuki Hinata's sister would get along famously since they both seem to know so much about the mysteries of the heart. Suzuki Hinata's protective side kicks in instantly. "I won't hand over my sister to anyone," he snaps, making Fuji laugh even harder. The next day, they meet in a private training room. Suzuki Hinata is nervous but determined to help his new friend. "Well then, should we start?" he asks. Kamui Shizuka nods firmly, her eyes filled with a fierce resolve. This is the first real step toward her mastering her dangerous power. As Kamui Shizuku begins to release her aura, The air in the training room turns sharp and cold. Suzuki Hinata braces himself, watching as she concentrates with everything she has. This is the power that the whole school is afraid of, but he's determined not to flinch. Right now, I'm not going to freeze, right? Suzuki Hinata thinks, staring intently at her. He's testing the limits of his new resistance skills in real time. He needs to keep looking at her. To be the steady anchor, she needs to stay in control of the blizzard within. Kamui Shizuku lets out a startled gasp as she feels the intensity of his gaze. She's clearly not used to being looked at so directly and without fear. But she steels herself, reminding them both that she wants to overcome her disability and live a normal life. She explains that she wants to master the protection of the ice god, so she doesn't have to live in fear of harming others anymore. That's why she needs him to help her push her limits. More, she whispers, her determination burning through the rising frost. Blushing furiously, Kamui Shizuku shouts, "I want you to keep staring at me." More. Suzuki Hinata's eyes nearly pop out of his head in shock. It's an incredibly awkward and intimate request, but he can feel the sheer desperation and hope in her voice. He finally understands the logic. Her power flared up on the rooftop because Guy's hateful glare broke her mental focus. She needs to practice staying calm, even when someone is looking at her with intensity. Understood. I'll keep going, he promises, matching her resolve. The two of them engage in a silent battle of wills, staring into each other's eyes as the room turns into an icebox. Suzuki Hinata knows this is all he can do to help right now, but he's putting everything into it. He truly wants to be the one who helps her overcome this lonely curse. Suzuki Hinata suddenly snaps out of his trance and awkwardly apologizes for the intense staring. But Kamui Shizuku has a far more difficult request. "Could you give me an intimidating look?" she asks, needing to recreate the actual pressure of an enemy's glare to see if she can maintain her composure when she's truly threatened. He steels his heart, trying to muster a fierce and menacing expression despite how much he worries for her. Kamui Shizuku braces herself, teeth clenched as her freezing aura ripples violently in response to the mounting tension. They're both about to discover that this simple practice session is about to escalate into something much more intense. Suzuki Hinata channels his aura, his eyes burning with a terrifying intensity as he tries to meet Kamui Shizuku's request. The pressure in the room skyrockets, and for a moment, Kamui Shizuku is overwhelmed by the sheer weight of his glare. She winces, clutching her chest as the icy energy within her begins to thrash in response to his intimidating presence. This is no longer just simple practice. It's a high-stakes battle of wills. The intensity of the stare breaks Kamui Shizuku's concentration, and she collapses to the floor, her body trembling from the strain. Suzuki Hinata immediately drops his fierce expression and rushes to her side, his voice filled with worry. "Kamui-san, are you okay?" he shouts, his mind racing with guilt. He wonders if he pushed her too far, but Kamui Shizuku, blushing furiously, asks a question that stops him in his tracks. "Suzuki-kun, have you gotten stronger since yesterday?" Suzuki Hinata is taken aback by her question. No, I don't think so," he replies, sounding unsure. In his mind, his level hasn't increased, so he shouldn't be any stronger than he was before. But then he remembers the long list of skills he acquired yesterday. Kamui Shizuku, still blushing and wiping away tears, apologizes for crying again, but Suzuki Hinata is quick to reassure her. "And no, you don't need to apologize. This was my fault in the first place," he stammers, waving his hands in a flustered panic. A moment of deep silence settles between them. Kamui Shizuku looks up at him with wide, teary eyes, her heart pounding against her ribs. "Hey, why is Suzuki-kun being so kind to me?" she wonders. She spent her life being feared or isolated by everyone around her. Yet here is this level 0 boy standing in her blizzard, wiping away her tears and treating her like a normal human being. The genuine kindness in his eyes is more overwhelming than any S-rank power. Suzuki Hinata tries to explain his actions, scratching his head with a sheepish grin. Well, that's because I made you cry. So, I need to take responsibility, he says, his face turning shade of red that matches hers. He adds that if he didn't, his younger sister would be furious with him. Kamui Shizuku's eyes light up with curiosity at the mention of a sibling. Do you have a younger sister? She asks, a faint smile touching her lips. Ah, yes, my proud and cute little sister, he replies, his eyes full of brotherly affection. Kamui Shizuku lets out a genuine laugh, her eyes bright with newfound joy. Suzuki Hinata watches her, mesmerized by the sudden change. Now that she's not constantly suppressed by the cold or her own fear, she's so much more expressive. Seeing her laugh and cry like any other girl makes her seem approachable, and his heart skips a beat as he realizes just how beautiful her smile truly is. Suzuki Hinata looks at her with a mix of admiration and a hint of jealousy. He's impressed by the way she's bravely confronting her trauma head-on. As they look around the training room, they realize the extent of their practice. The floor is cracked and covered in a thick layer of frost that won't melt easily. Their journey of self-improvement has left a physical mark on the world around them. Looking at the thick ice coating the room, Suzuki Hinata wonders what he should do. He feels responsible for the mess, but then a system notification pings in his head. You've acquired the skill ice melting due to the difficulty. His eyes widen in shock. His body is adapting once again, developing the perfect tool to deal with Kamui Shizuku's runaway power. All right, with this, a new skill, he exclaims, feeling a surge of excitement. Kamui Shizuku asks him what's wrong, seeing him stare at the frost. He explains that he was just wondering if his new power could melt the ice, but she shakes her head. The protection of the ice god isn't normal ice, so I don't think it will melt for a while, she says with a sigh. She admits that she used her authority as a student council member to get permission for the room, but now it's unusable for everyone else. Suzuki Hinata feels a pang of guilt, wishing he could do something to fix the situation. He looks around the ice-covered training room, his face set in a look of grim determination. He doesn't want Kamui Shizuku to be the target of glares or gossip because of this. He realizes that if he can't fix this, she'll have to carry the blame alone. I wish I could do something, he thinks, his mind racing for a way to use his new skill to its full potential. He's tired of seeing her suffer for a power she never asked for. Suzuki Hinata reaches out his hand, focusing all his willpower into the new skill. This time for sure, he shouts, his eyes burning with resolve. Suddenly, another system notification flashes before his eyes. Your skill has evolved into absolute ice disintegration due to the difficulty. His jaw drops as he feels a massive surge of power flow through his fingertips. It evolved, he cries out, his mind barely able to keep up with his body's rapid evolution. In a flash of blinding light, the thick, unyielding ice simply vanishes. It melted, or did disintegrate? Suzuki Hinata shouts, staring in awe at his empty hands. The absolute ice disintegration skill has completely erased the traces of the ice god's power. Kamui Shizuku stands paralyzed in shock, her eyes wide as she looks at the clean, ice-free room. She's never seen anything like this. He has just performed a miracle. Kamui-san, I think we can head back home now, without any problems, Suzuki Hinata says, his face lit up with a triumphant grin. He's incredibly proud of what they've achieved together. But Kamui Shizuku can only stare at him in disbelief, her breath hitching in her throat. No, it can't be, she whispers, her mind reeling. She realizes that this level 0 boy possesses a power that shouldn't even exist, a power that can erase the very essence of a god's protection. As they walk out together, the other students begin to whisper. Hey, isn't that the Ice Princess? One boy asks, his eyes wide with shock. Are those two in a party together? I'm so jealous, another exclaims. Suzuki Hinata is oblivious to the attention, but he notices Kamui Shizuku's silent confusion and apologizes for the stir they're causing. He doesn't realize that walking side by side with her has just made him the most talked-about person in the entire school. They reach the point where they have to go their separate ways. "Well, see you later, Suzuki-kun," Kamui Shizuka says, waving a small, shy goodbye. Suzuki Hinata is frozen for a moment, his face turning a deep red. "Ah, Kamui-san," he shouts after her, his voice cracking with nerves. She pauses and looks back, her head tilted to the side as she waits for him to finish his sentence. "Yeah," she asks softly, her expression a mix of curiosity and expectation. Suzuki Hinata takes a deep breath, his hands trembling as he summons his courage. "Well, shall I walk you home?" He blurts out, his eyes squeezed shut in embarrassment. If you don't like it, it's fine." He quickly adds, ready to back down at a moment's notice. Kamui Shizuku is completely caught off guard, her face flushing as red as a beet. "What?" she gasps, her mind blanking out as she tries to process his bold offer. "Really?" she asks, her voice small and hopeful. Suzuki Hinata starts to panic, rambling about how there could be weird misunderstandings if he stays, but his eyes are fixed on the ground. "It's just if your trauma acts up again, and I want to take responsibility until the end," he says, a genuine, warm smile breaking across his face. He wants to be there for her, not as a hero, but as a friend. Kamui Shizuka looks at him, her heart swelling with an emotion she's never felt before. "Wouldn't it be boring walking with me?" she asks, but her blushing face tells a different story. The cold aura begins to leak out again, but this time it's different. It's driven by her racing heart. Kamui Shizuku clutches her briefcase, her face buried in her collar, as she tries to hide her intense embarrassment. "Ah, please," she gasps, her breath visible in the freezing air. Suzuki Hinata is instantly alert, reaching out toward her. "The cold," he whispers, realizing she's losing control again. But this time, he's not afraid. He's ready to help her face whatever comes next. "Look, if it's with my skill, I'll be able to stop the cold," Suzuki Hinata shouts, throwing his arms wide with a goofy, confident grin. "Absolute ice disintegration," he exclaims, as if announcing a finishing move in a video game. Kamui Shizuku is too embarrassed to even look at him, her face hidden behind her hands as she trembles from the intensity of her feelings. His silly bravado is exactly what she needs to break through the icy wall around her heart. Kamui Shizuku finally looks up at him through her fingers, her eyes wide and sparkling with unshed tears of joy. "Thank you," she whispers, her voice barely audible but filled with a profound sincerity. Suzuki Hinata is stunned into silence by her radiant expression, his own face heating up again. "Why, you're welcome," he stammers, unable to look away from her. In this quiet moment, the gap between the level 0 and the S rank has finally completely closed. As the sun sets over the city, casting a warm, golden glow across the sidewalk, the two of them begin their walk home. "Well, shall we go?" Suzuki Hinata asks, and Kamui Shizuka responds with a soft yes. The distance between them, which once felt like a frozen wasteland, has finally begun to melt away. They walk side by side into a new world of possibilities, two outcasts who have finally found where they belong. The winter of their isolation is finally over. By the end of this eventful day, Suzuki Hinata's status has been completely transformed. His list of acquired skills has grown to include powerful new abilities like surrounding exploration, demon dismantling, and the incredible absolute ice disintegration. From a level 0 nobody to a warrior with the power to erase the effects of a god's protection, his journey has only just begun. What other impossible feats will he achieve as he continues to defy the laws of this world? We'll find out in the next chapter. A few days have passed since Suzuki Hinata started training with Kamui Shizuku. In that time, he's managed to make the legendary Ice Queen cry every single day. Not out of malice, but because of the sheer intensity of their sessions. Even though she's the one crying, Shizuku is the one telling Hinata not to worry. She smiles through the tears, thanking him for his dedication. Hinata reaches out, wondering if his sister would approve of him constantly making a girl cry, but he vows to continue accompanying her. The next thing Hinata knows, he's standing in front of a massive, traditional estate. This is the residence of the Kamui family. The sheer scale and opulence of the place leave the boy from the bottom of the system absolutely speechless. Inside, he is greeted by a beautiful woman in a kimono. This is Irina, Shizuku's mother. She welcomes him with a warm, yet somehow intimidating presence that commands respect. Irina mentions she's heard quite a lot about Hinata from her daughter. Hinata, however, is paralyzed with fear, imagining the typical scenario where a wealthy mother tries to intimidate the poor protagonist with a sharp knife and stern warnings. To his relief, she just invites him inside. As he waits in a grand, traditional room, the sound of water dripping in the courtyard echoes the silence. The luxury of the Kamui household is almost suffocating for someone like Hinata. He's told that the young lady will arrive shortly. Alone in the room, Hinata feels incredibly out of place, shifting nervously on his cushion. Suddenly, he senses someone watching him from the shadows of the garden. It's Shizuku's grandfather. The old man is impressed that Hinata managed to notice him, and the system immediately pings. Hinata has obtained the skill stealth detection thanks to the intense pressure from the elder. The grandfather isn't done yet. He stares at Hinata with a piercing intensity that feels like he's looking straight into the boy's soul. When Hinata flinches, the old man jokingly claims he's not that old yet, but the mental pressure is very real. The system notifications keep popping up. Now he's gained mind-reading resistance from this psychological battle. The grandfather is genuinely impressed by Hinata's resilience, laughing heartily as he realizes his granddaughter has quite an eye for talent. Just as the tension eases, Kamui Shizuku enters the room. She swapped her school uniform for a stunning kimono, blushing as she asks Hinata if it looks good on her. The sight is enough to make any high schooler's heart skip a beat. Hinata is completely flustered, stammering out a compliment. Shizuku's shy smile carries a destructive power that hits him harder than any dungeon boss ever could. It's a rare, soft side of the Ice Queen. They sit down together, but the silence is agonizing. Hinata is so nervous his throat is bone dry. He wonders why she's sitting right next to him instead of across the table. The proximity is definitely not helping his heart rate. The system, ever observant of his suffering, grants him the skill waste decomposition due to the difficulties of his internal state. Hinata is just trying to survive the overwhelming scent of Shizuku next to him without losing his cool. Irina returns to the room with the maid, apologizing for the wait. Hinata quickly praises the tea, trying to act like a normal, composed guest, despite the chaos in his head. The atmosphere shifts to business. Irina opens a sleek black case with a mysterious smile. Hinata can only watch in confusion, wondering what kind of payment or deal is about to be presented to him. Inside is a credit card, an exclusive one for the Kamui family. Irina tells him he can use it as much as he wants as a reward for helping her daughter. Hinata's jaw drops. Unlimited money? This is beyond anything he imagined. While Hinata is busy calculating how many living expenses this could cover, Shizuku is furious. She shouts at her mother, claiming this wasn't part of their deal. The two start bickering, leaving Hinata caught in the middle of a very rich family's argument. Suddenly, Irina's expression softens, and tears begin to well up. Seeing the usually composed matriarch of the Kamui family cry sends a shockwave through the room. Shizuku and Hinata are both frozen in surprise. Irina wipes away a tear, reflecting on how long it's been since she and Shizuku could argue like this, like a normal mother and daughter. It's a bittersweet moment of realization for the family. Hinata is stunned. He asks Shizuku if she's the same way at home as she is at school. He begins to understand the heavy burden she carries, working so hard every day until she cries, just to have a few normal moments with her mother. A wave of guilt washes over Hinata. He realizes how little he actually knows about Shizuku. He sighs there, fists clenched, feeling the weight of the situation he's walked into. Irina and the maid bow deeply, pleading with Hinata to continue being there for Shizuku. They aren't just asking for a trainer. They're begging for someone who can give her the time and normalcy she so desperately craves. Hinata looks from the weeping mother to the silent daughter, realizing that only he possesses the power to shatter the ice cage isolating Shizuku from the world. It's a heavy responsibility, but as his eyes fall on the credit card, a surge of discomfort rises within him. This isn't supposed to be a business deal. Drawing on a newfound resolve, Hinata prepares to voice a refusal that no one in this room expected. He isn't here for their money. He's here for Shizuku, and it's time he made his true intentions clear to the entire Kimui family. Suzuki Hinata stands his ground, firmly rejecting the Kimui family's credit card. He declares with burning determination that he wants to support Kimui Shizuku through his own will and effort, not as a paid service. Shizuku looks on, completely stunned by the boy's unwavering sincerity. Hinata's voice rings out, stating he wants to repay her with his own strength. Hearing such direct and heartfelt words causes Shizuku's heart to race, her eyes widening as a deep blush creeps across her face. Irina, witnessing the genuine connection forming between them, asks Hinata if he'll continue to get along with her daughter. Hinata is momentarily caught off guard by the blunt question from Shizuku's mother. With a bright, honest smile, Hinata agrees, saying he's more than happy to stay by her side as long as Shizuku is okay with it. This proves too much for the Ice Queen to handle. Overwhelmed by embarrassment, Shizuku shouts his name and hides her face, much to the surprise of everyone in the room. Suddenly, Shizuku dashes out of the room, her emotions spiraling out of control. Hinata immediately gives chase, realizing that if she isn't calmed down, her unstable power might freeze the entire mansion. In the heat of the moment, the system notifies him that he's obtained the water seal skill. Hinata sprints through the long, traditional hallways, desperate to catch up with the fleeing girl. He can feel the temperature dropping as he follows the trail of her distress. As he tracks her, he considers for a split second if he should give her space, but he quickly dismisses the thought. He can't let her suffer alone in the cold. He moves with newfound precision, his stealth skill evolving into absolute shadow as he passes through the gates of the training hall. He finds Shizuku standing there, her head bowed in shadow, looking incredibly vulnerable. He finds her collapsed on the floor, weeping silently. Hinata calls out her name softly, his heart aching at the sight of her distress. Shizuku's breath hitches as she realizes he's followed her all this way. Shizuku looks up with tear-filled eyes, startled by his proximity. She's struggling to contain the freezing aura that normally isolates her from the rest of the world. She pours out her heart, explaining that because of the protection of the ice god, she can't talk to or touch people normally without hurting them. She's trapped in a cage of her own power, wondering why she was chosen for such a lonely existence. Hinata listens, his heart full of compassion. He recalls how dazzling her hard work seemed to him, even though he didn't fully understand her struggle. Taking responsibility for the tears he once caused her, he steps forward and offers her a clean handkerchief. With a gentle smile, Hinata wipes away her tears, telling her that he truly wants to stand by her side. He's found something special in her, and he's not willing to let her face the cold alone. Shizuku can only look up at him, her heart melting at his kindness. Shizuku admits that she hasn't been able to touch anyone for a long time. The simple act of Hinata being near her, offering comfort without fear, fills her with an overwhelming sense of happiness. A soft, radiant smile finally breaks through her sorrow. She thanks him sincerely, her face blushing as she gazes up at the boy who has become her warmth in a world of ice. The two share a quiet, intimate moment on the wooden floor. For a brief second, all the ranks and power levels don't matter. It's just two teenagers connecting on a deeply human level. The romantic atmosphere is abruptly shattered by a booming voice teasing them about how hot things are getting. Shizuku's grandfather has made a sudden appearance, causing the two to jump back in shock and embarrassment. The old man laughs heartily, praising Shizuku for finding such a good boy. He turns to Hinata, curious about how he managed to suppress her freezing power, but Hinata simply attributes it to his mysterious skills. As the grandfather's sharp eyes study him, Hinata feels a chill down his spine. The old man is clearly more observant than he looks, and he's deeply interested in the boy who stands as a level 0. The grandfather points a teasing finger, asking what they should do next, which only adds to Shizuku's mounting embarrassment. Hinata is sweating under the pressure, wondering how to navigate the eccentric old man's whims. Shizuku is so flustered she lets out a powerful kick, begging Hinata to forget everything her grandfather said. The sheer intensity of the scene causes Hinata to gain the increased defense skill through sheer terror. A short while later, they return to the main house, where Irina welcomes them back. However, the air feels different as they approach the center of the estate. Someone else has arrived. They are met by a massive, muscular man with a stern, imposing aura. This is Kamui Akira, Shizuku's father. Hinata is instantly paralyzed with fear, sweating profusely as he tries to introduce himself to the head of the Kamui family. Kamui Akira's eyes narrow in shock as he looks at his daughter. He had heard the reports, but seeing Shizuku's radiant smile and the way she looks at Hinata is a transformation he can hardly believe, signaling a profound shift in the family's destiny. The room is filled with a newfound happiness that transcends Shizuku's frozen past. As the Ice Queen finally finds her warmth, the entire mansion seems to hold its breath, ready for the heartfelt words of gratitude that are about to follow. Kamui Akira, the imposing head of the family, bows his head in gratitude. He admits that seeing his daughter smile like this is a dream he's held for a long time. Suzuki Hinata is taken aback by the sudden warmth from the man who just terrified him, but he can't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. Everyone is beaming with a happiness that has been absent from this mansion for far too long. As the evening draws to a close, Hinata prepares to head home. He thanks the family for the incredible meal and their hospitality. Shizuku walks him to the gate, the quiet of the night highlighting the lingering connection between them. Just as he's about to leave, Shizuku stops him. Her face is bright red, her hands nervously fidgeting. She gathers her courage and blurts out a request. She wants him to stop being so formal and call her by her first name. For the Ice Queen, this is a massive step. Hinata is completely flustered, his heart thumping loudly in his chest. He stammers, unsure if he's ready for that level of intimacy, but Shizuku's vulnerable expression makes it impossible to say no. They stand in the moonlight, two teenagers navigating the awkward, wonderful beginning of something new. Finally, they find their rhythm. Hinata promises to call her soon, and Shizuku tells him he can reach out anytime. As they say their goodbyes, the cold night air doesn't seem to bite quite as much as it used to. Shizuku stands at the entrance, waving until Hinata's figure disappears into the distance. Behind her, Irina watches from the doorway with a knowing, maternal smile. The mansion, once a place of silent burden, finally feels like a home again. Irina places a comforting hand on her daughter's shoulder. She expresses how grateful the Kamui family is to Hinata, promising that they will support him with all their might in return. Shizuku listens quietly, realizing that Hinata has done far more than just help her with her powers. He's given her back her life. As she walks back to her room, Shizuku reflects on the day. Seeing herself smile in the mirror for the first time in ages has changed something within her. She whispers a soft goodnight, her heart full of sweet dreams. The night settles over the grand estate. Deep within the mansion, Shizuku enters a specialized training room, perhaps to rest or to contemplate the incredible progress she's made with the help of the boy who refused to fear her cold. Her profile is sharp against the dim light. The Ice Queen is melting, and as she closes the door on this momentous day, the future seems brighter than ever. But what challenges await the Level 0 protagonist next? To be continued. As the chapter draws to a close, a summary of Hinata's rapidly growing skill list is revealed. From active skills like Absolute Water Seal and Absolute Concealment to a massive array of passives like Pressure Resistance and Mind Reading Resistance, It's clear that the level 0 status is nothing but a mask for a burgeoning, unstoppable power. Suzuki Hinata stands before E-Rank Dungeon 117. After his narrow escape and newfound strength, he's determined to acquire as many skills as possible to keep up with Kamui. However, getting in isn't that easy. The guard demands to see his license first. Suzuki Hinata's status still shows as level 0, causing the guard to bar his entry for safety. Despite Hinata's confidence, his official rank remains a frustrating obstacle. Recalling his previous struggles, the system suddenly grants Suzuki Hinata the stealth skill, sparking a clever plan to sneak past the guards. Activating absolute stealth, Hinata tests his new power right under the guard's nose. To his delight, he's completely invisible and ready to slip inside. He confidently strolls into the dungeon area, but a sudden, loud shout freezes him in his tracks. Could he have been caught already? It turns out the shout wasn't for Hinata, but for Kai, another student. Hinata breathes a sigh of relief, realizing his stealth is working perfectly as he hides in plain sight. Kai is visibly frustrated by the security checks, dismissing the E-Rank dungeon as trivial. Hinata watches silently, thankful he bypassed the hassle altogether. Once inside, the landscape is unexpectedly beautiful and vast. Hinata's dungeon information skill activates, revealing this area is known as Troll's Prison. Hinata is puzzled. The dungeon's name and layout have completely shifted since his last visit. Nearby, other explorers are already busy engaging the local monsters. The battle is joined. Explorers strike down bouncy, slime-like monsters called Call, with well-coordinated attacks and heavy swings. The party cheers after a successful skirmish, their spirits high. Hinata observes their teamwork with a quiet smile, happy to see them safe. Hinata discovers that even simple interactions lead to new rewards. He gains monster analysis just by examining a squishy Call he found wandering alone. A moment of clumsy strength causes a Call to burst, but the system compensates with the restraint skill. Finally, Hinata learns how to control his immense power without breaking everything he touches. Confusion erupts when Kai's party spots a Call seemingly floating in midair. They swing wildly at it, totally unaware that an invisible Hinata is the one holding it. The Call zips through the air at incredible speed, leaving the baffled explorers stunned as they try to keep up with the impossible movement. Feeling protective of the little monster, Hinata makes a run for it, but he accidentally triggers a floor mechanism that makes the Call whine in distress. He sets the Call down safely on a dock, keeping a watchful eye on the explorers silhouetted in the distance. He just wants to avoid any more trouble. A sudden turn of events lands Hinata in a dark cavern. He's shocked to find Kai already deep inside, gasping for breath as he faces a formidable opponent. A massive troll boss emerges from the shadows, its presence shaking the very ground. Hinata's analysis confirms his fears. This is a powerful floor boss that Kai might not be ready for. Kai gives it his all, blocking a heavy strike from the troll's massive club with gritted teeth and all the strength he can muster. Kai strikes back fiercely, but the battle is chaotic. From his hiding spot, Hinata watches as the pressure on the young explorer continues to mount. Elsewhere in the chamber, other party members join the fray, casting spells and charging in to bring the beast down. With a triumphant roar, Kai seizes an opening and drives his blade deep into the troll's back, certain that the fight is finally over. Suzuki Hinata watches in awe as the party celebrates their win, but the joy is instantly shattered. A massive shadow stretches over Kai as a second troll looms right behind him, ready to strike. Kai's eyes widen in sheer terror as a second troll emerges from the shadows, roaring with primal fury. Just when he thought he had things under control, the dungeon throws another nightmare his way. The sudden appearance of another floor boss sends a shockwave of panic through the young explorer, as he realizes he's now dangerously outnumbered and cornered. The troll's massive club comes crashing down with bone-shattering force. missing Kai by mere inches, but sending debris flying everywhere with a thunderous crash. Watching from a safe distance, Suzuki Hinata is paralyzed with shock, his heart pounding in his chest as he witnesses the raw destructive power of the beast. The battle has escalated far beyond anything Kai can handle on his own. Exhausted and cornered by two towering trolls, Kai grits his teeth in frustration, his mind racing to find a way out. He knows the rules of the dungeon. There should only be one boss per party, yet here he is, staring down twice the danger. Meanwhile, Hinata watches with a mix of guilt and confusion, wondering if his own hidden presence in the room has somehow caused the system to abandon its normal logic. Just as the situation looks hopeless, a veteran explorer leaps into the fray with a determined shout, blocking the troll's lethal strike. With a thunderous clang, his heavy blade meets the monster's club mid-swing, halting its momentum in an instant. Kai looks on in awe, stunned by the sudden intervention of such a skilled and powerful warrior. With a seasoned fighter now leading the charge, the momentum of the battle shifts dramatically. The veteran swordsman and Kai coordinate their attacks, their blades weaving a deadly dance of steel against the troll's thick hides. Explosive booms and slashes echo through the cavern as they tear through the monster's defenses, turning the tide of the desperate encounter. Kai seizes the opening, his determination burning brighter than ever as he prepares to land a decisive blow. With a fierce battle cry of YAH, he lunges forward, his entire focus narrowed down to the target in front of him. Every muscle in his body is coiled like a spring, ready to unleash a strike that will finally put an end to this nightmare. The blade strikes home with lethal precision, carving deep into the troll's neck in a spectacular spray of black blood. As the massive beast lets out a final, gurgling roar and begins to collapse, the veteran explorer looks on with a calm, practiced gaze. The combined strength of their assault was more than enough to bring down the towering menace once and for all. Kai collapses onto the ground, his breath coming in ragged gasps as the adrenaline begins to fade. As the veteran and his partner help him gather his things, the conversation turns to the unnatural spawning of the third troll. They wonder if the dungeon is malfunctioning, unaware that an invisible Suzuki Hinata is standing just a few feet away, listening to every word with a sinking feeling of realization. The veteran explorer looks back at Kai with a stern but well-meaning expression, offering a piece of harsh advice. An explorer's only value is their life, and they shouldn't overdo it. He reminds the young man that the dungeons are merciless to the reckless. Kai, still reeling from the fight, simply nods in agreement, promising to head home once he's rested. As the older explorers prepare to leave, they comment on Kai's toughness, though they remind him that this is no game. One mistake is all it takes to lose everything. Kai sits alone in the quiet cavern, his expression turning bitter and determined. He knows he has to be prepared for every eventuality if he ever wants to survive and reach the top of the Explore world. In the shadows, Suzuki Hinata begins to piece together the truth behind the chaos. Looking at the logic of the dungeon's spawning system, he realizes that he is the party the system detected. Because he was there invisibly, a third troll was generated specifically for him, inadvertently putting Kai's life at risk by creating an extra boss monster. Guilt washes over Hinata as he spots the third troll lurking nearby, still alive and waiting for its intended prey. Realizing that he is the culprit responsible for this mess, he decides he can't just walk away. It's his duty to clean up this problem, and for the first time, he prepares himself for a true, direct confrontation with a dungeon boss. Hinata quickly formulates a strategy, his newfound martial arts skill allowing him to see the troll's weak points with startling clarity. He knows that attacking will break his absolute stealth, so he plans to combine a sneak attack with speed-up super to maximize his damage in the short window he has. One strike, aimed right at the base of the neck. That's the only way he can win. With a sharp swoosh of air, Hinata launches himself into the void, his body soaring toward the massive beast. He pours every ounce of his focus and newfound strength into a powerful kick, wondering just how far his level 0 power can truly take him. The distance closes in an instant as he commits everything to the lethal maneuver. His kick connects with a thunderous thwack, slamming into the troll's thick neck with surprising impact. As his absolute stealth deactivates, Hinata feels the rush of being visible again, with a 60-second cooldown timer suddenly ticking away in his mind. He lands and quickly prepares for the monster's retaliation, his heart racing as he waits to see if the blow was enough. A faint wisp of steam rises from the impact point on the troll's neck, a testament to the heat and power behind Hinata's strike. The beast stands motionless for a moment, the sheer force of the blow still rippling through its massive frame as Hinata watches with bated breath, hoping his gamble paid off. To Hinata's horror, the troll remains standing, its thick hide seemingly absorbing the brunt of his assault. Panic sets in as he realizes his attack power might be too weak to make a real difference, even with martial arts. With his stealth disabled and his skills on cooldown, he feels more vulnerable than ever before, his mind frantically searching for a way to survive the coming counterattack. Suddenly, a cheerful voice cuts through the tension, freezing Hinata in his tracks. A beautiful girl with black hair and large bows looks at him with a mischievous smile, asking if he's a student from Seishin High. Hinata's heart sinks as he realizes his secret has been blown. Someone has finally seen him where he shouldn't be, and his presence here is no longer a secret. Meet Shino, a vibrant and energetic girl whose playful demeanor hides a keen and observant mind. With a bright "nice to meet you" and eyes that seem to see right through him, she introduces herself to the startled Hinata. Her sudden arrival in the middle of a dungeon is as mysterious as it is unwelcome for the boy trying so hard to keep a low profile. Hinata is in a complete panic, his mind racing with the consequences of being caught in a restricted area without permission. He stammers out a response, but Shino completely ignores his distress, casually walking toward the towering troll as if it were nothing more than a statue. She seems more impressed that he allegedly took down a troll all by himself. While Hinata shouts warnings about the dangerous beast, Shino playfully pokes the troll's massive shoulder, her smile never fading. She laughs off his concerns, telling him quite clearly that the monster is already defeated. It seems she can see the results of his strike more clearly than even he can, despite his doubts. As if on cue, the troll's massive body lets out a final groan and comes crashing down to the cavern floor with a thunderous crash. Hinata can only stare in disbelief, his mouth agape as he realizes the monster really was dead. Shino just gives him a cheeky look, enjoying his utter confusion and the shock written all over his face. Shino breaks into a fit of laughter, her voice echoing through the chamber as she mocks Hinata's fear that the monster was playing dead. To her, the idea is hilarious, and she teasingly reminds him that once a monster stops moving in a dungeon, it's game over. Hinata can only look on, feeling embarrassed and completely out of his depth with this strange girl. Utterly fearless, Shino crouches down and starts poking the fallen troll's feet, treating the former menace like a toy. Hinata watches her with a mix of awe and bewilderment, wondering how she can be so fearless. However, he quickly becomes flustered by her bold and unpredictable personality, his face turning a bright shade of red as he realizes just how precarious her crouch position is. The atmosphere shifts from a boss battle to total embarrassment as Shino catches Hinata staring, her eyes widening in mock surprise. Hinata's hand trembles as he tries to point out that something he definitely shouldn't be seeing is now visible from his angle. The heroic moment takes a hilarious and awkward turn as he realizes the close proximity has led to an unexpected lack of modesty. "That's fine. Look, I'm properly wearing spots," Shino says playfully, lifting the hem of her dress to prove her point. Suzuki Hinata is completely caught off guard, his face turning bright red as he stares in shock at her unexpected and bold lack of modesty. Shino giggles, teasingly noting that normally everyone would be looking. Hinata, however, is a blushing mess, waving his hands frantically and declaring at the top of his lungs that he absolutely won't look, no matter how much she teases him. Shino's playful smile shifts into a mysterious and calculating as she watches Hinata's flustered reaction. Her eyes twinkle with a devious plan, making it clear she's far from finished having fun at his expense. The playful atmosphere is suddenly cut short as another massive troll boss emerges from the darkness with a thunderous thud. Far from being scared, Shino's eyes light up with genuine excitement as she claims the beast for herself, eager for a real test of her skills. With a determined, "Well then," Shino prepares for the upcoming battle. Suzuki Hinata watches in surprise as she pulls out a pair of high-tech baton weapons from behind her back, the metallic gleam hinting at the hidden power they contain. "What I'm about to show you is a secret." Shino winks at Hinata, warning him not to tell a soul as she readies her twin magic weapons. Her playful facade has vanished, replaced by the intense and confident aura of a highly skilled combatant. A quick glance at the system screen reveals the impressive array of skills Suzuki Hinata has managed to acquire so far. From active abilities like absolute concealment to passive ones like dungeon information, his power is growing at an incredible rate. Without a hint of hesitation, Shino walks confidently toward the towering troll boss. Her calm and steady footsteps echo through the cavern, marking the beginning of a confrontation where she clearly holds all the cards. With a sudden and explosive burst of speed, Shino launches her assault. Hinata can only watch in awe as she moves like a silver blur, her agility far surpassing anything he expected from her. "So fast!" Hinata exclaims, his eyes widening as he realizes just how powerful Shino actually is. She moves with a grace and speed that makes the lumbering troll look like it's trapped in slow motion. The battle is a whirlwind of lethal motion. Shino effortlessly dodges the troll's heavy club, flipping through the air with a playful grace that belies the deadly intensity and precision of her strikes. "Magic weapon!" Hinata shouts in disbelief as Shino's batons crackle with intense magical energy. She grins back at him, claiming it's almost over as she prepares to deliver the final, crushing blow. Shino's weapons hum with magic as she strikes the troll with blinding speed. Each blow from her magic batons sends sparks flying, systematically tearing through the monster's thick hide and leaving it reeling. The intensity of the fight peaks as Shino continues her relentless and fluid barrage. The troll is completely overwhelmed, unable to land a single hit on the nimble girl as she effortlessly dances around its massive frame. With one final, decisive strike, Shino brings the massive beast down for good. The troll crashes to the ground, defeated in mere seconds by her overwhelming skill and the power of her magic weapons. Shino strikes a triumphant pose, proud of her quick victory. "How's that? You?" she starts to say, only to realize with a start that Hinata has completely vanished from the cavern while she was occupied. Thinking he can slip away while she's distracted, Hinata activates perfect stealth and makes a run for it. He desperately hopes she'll just forget his face, but Shino isn't about to let her mysterious companion escape that easily. Shino pauses, her sharp senses picking up the sound of a faint footstep. She looks around the empty cavern with a knowing look, her instincts telling her exactly where Hinata is hiding. "You're here, right?" Shino says as she suddenly grabs onto Hinata from behind. Despite being invisible, he can't escape her keen intuition, and his shock is palpable as he realizes he's been caught once again. Shino is genuinely impressed that he was actually hiding, praising his stealth while demanding he deactivate it at once. Hinata, however, is desperate to stay hidden, his mind racing for any way to escape this awkward encounter. Seeing that Hinata won't reveal himself, Shino pulls out her secret weapon, fake tears. "Then, I'm gonna cry, you know?" she says, putting on a heartbreakingly convincing performance to manipulate him. Shino begins to sniffle and sob loudly, making Hinata panic. He can't handle the thought of making a girl cry, even if a part of him suspects she might be faking the whole thing. "Ugh, I guess it can't be helped." Hinata sighs, finally giving in and deactivating his perfect stealth. Shino instantly stops crying, her face lighting up with excitement as she immediately bombards him with questions. That's because I have a special ability. We just have good compatibility, that's all. Shino grins, brushing off his confusion with a playful wink. Suzuki Hinata remains baffled by how she could sense him at all, but he's starting to realize that her interest in him goes far beyond his hidden skills. Hinata can only sigh in embarrassment as the energetic Shino continues to hover around him, her curiosity about his secrets and his life seemingly endless. It looks like he's stuck with this unpredictable girl for the time being, and she's already preparing her next line of questioning. Shino continues to tease Suzuki Hinata, laughing at his lack of social experience and guessing that he doesn't have many friends. Hinata is completely flustered, letting out a frustrated JH as he realizes just lamb the now easily this girl can read him. Shino leans in, calling him surprisingly manly after seeing his directness. However, she quickly drops a bombshell. She knows his ability is a secret and asks if it would be a problem if others found out. Hinata is cornered. His silence confirms her suspicion. Realizing he can't escape her sharp questions, Hinata looks Shino in the eye with a serious expression, demanding to know what she really wants from him after trapping him with his own secret. With a bright and disarming smile, Shino reaches out her hand. She reveals her true intention. She wants to form a temporary party with him for a while, seeing the potential in his hidden strength. The proposal catches Hinata completely off guard. His eyes widen in shock as he lets out a stunned HUH. Unable to believe that this mysterious and skilled girl wants to team up with a supposed level 0 like him. Hinata's mind races as he weighs his options. He considers refusing, but he knows Shino holds his secret over his head. He realizes she's much more cunning than she looks, and managing her might be just as difficult as clearing the dungeon itself. Seeing no other way out and perhaps a bit intrigued, Hinata reluctantly agrees to the team-up. Shino cheers with a joyful YY, her energetic celebration contrasting sharply with Hinata's resigned and slightly traumatized expression. The new partnership begins immediately, albeit in a strange way. Shino spreads out a picnic-like blanket, suggesting they wait comfortably for the next troll to respawn. Hinata can only stare in disbelief at her incredibly casual approach to a dangerous dungeon. Hinata is impressed as Shino demonstrates her own rare and useful ability, dimensional storage. She effortlessly pulls out items as if from thin air, leaving Hinata wondering just where she obtained such a powerful skill. He realizes they haven't even introduced themselves yet. The two finally exchange names. Hinata awkwardly gives his full name, Suzuki Hinata, while Shino insists on keeping things casual. Just Shino, with no honorifics, she says with a grin, already acting like they've been friends for years. They soon discover they attend the same school, Seishin High. Hinata is in class 3, while Shino is in the class next door. Despite being so close, their paths had never crossed until this fateful dungeon encounter. The conversation turns to the rumors of an S-rank student in class 3, the famous Kimui Shizuku. Shino's playful expression turns slightly serious as she mentions the rumored S-rank student who overshadows everyone else in their grade. Shino's gaze turns sharp as she contemplates the existence of such a powerful rival nearby. I see, surprisingly, there's a strong rival nearby. She muses, her competitive spirit flickering beneath her playful facade. Hinata wonders if she sees the S-rank student as a rival. The ground shakes as the next troll finally respawns. Shino springs into action, taking the lead with a confident, "I'll take the front." She instructs Hinata to wait for an opening and strike from behind, marking the official start of their first coordinated party battle. Shino is a whirlwind of motion, her twin magic batons crackling with energy as she engages the roaring troll. She keeps the beast's attention focused entirely on her, creating the perfect opportunity for Hinata to move in for the strike. With his skills active, Hinata becomes a blur of motion. He circles behind the massive troll in an instant, his movements so fast they're nearly impossible to follow. Shino is momentarily stunned by the raw speed he displays. Shino's jaw drops as she witnesses Hinata's true speed. She knew he was hiding something, but this level of agility is far beyond her expectations. Even as she fights, she can't help but be stunned by the boy's explosive power. Hinata doesn't waste a single second. He delivers a powerful, concentrated strike to the troll's blind spot, his movements precise and lethal as he aimed for the monster's most vulnerable point. A sickening crack echoes through the cavern as Hinata's blow connects. Shino watches in stunned silence as the massive creature reels from the impact of a single, well-placed hit from the supposedly weak Level 0 student. The troll is down in an instant. Shino is impressed by Hinata's efficiency, while he is surprised at how effective targeting weak points can be. He immediately puts his monster dissection skill to use, efficiently gathering valuable materials from the fallen foe. Energized by their quick victory, Shino is already ready for the next one. "All right, let's keep hunting like this," she declares with a wide, infectious grin. Hinata, however, looks like he's already had enough excitement for one day. After gathering a substantial amount of loot, the adrenaline begins to fade. Shino looks back at Hinata, her expression softening as she suggests they should finally head back for the day. Hinata is more than happy to agree. As they prepare to leave, Shino reaches out her hand again. "Here, hold my hand," she asks with a playful glint in her eyes. Hinata's face turns beet red as he stammers a refusal, desperately wishing he could just use his stealth to avoid the awkward moment. Shino isn't bothered by his shyness one bit. She gives him a bright, wide smile, telling him she wants him to stay with her until the very end. She's clearly decided that she won't let her talented and mysterious new partner run away so easily, no matter how much he might want to. To ensure his cooperation, Shino drops a playful but terrifying threat. If he runs, she'll go to his classroom and cry loudly in front of everyone. Horrified by the potential social nightmare, Hinata realizes he's effectively trapped in her orbit as he follows her out of the dungeon, still carefully hidden by his stealth. Suzuki Hinata finally releases his absolute stealth skill, appearing beside a humming Shino. They've safely made it past the dungeon exit, and Shino seems quite pleased with their successful infiltration. Shino gives Hinata a playful wink and a cheeky giggle. She commends him for staying true to his word and not taking the opportunity to run away while he was invisible and untraceable. As Shino continues her lively chatter, Hinata finds himself looking at her with a soft smile. Her joyful gestures and infectious energy remind him of his own sister, making him feel a strange sense of familiarity with this mysterious girl. Hinata mentions how much Shino reminds him of his sister, which sparks a curious reaction from her. Despite his success in the dungeon, Hinata remains humble, insisting that he's neither exceptionally strong nor a normal explorer. Shino looks at him with a knowing, slightly mischievous gaze. She's already planning their next outing, suggesting they meet at Dungeon E90 tomorrow morning to continue their work. "Because we're a party now, right?" Shino says, leaning in so close that a flustered Hinata can barely find his words. She's definitely taking their new temporary alliance much more seriously than he expected. Telling him not to be late at 10 a.m., Shino skips away cheerfully. Hinata can only sigh in exhaustion, heading back to his dormitory after a day that turned out much differently than he'd planned. Back at the dorm, Hinata collapses onto the table in exhaustion. His roommate, Fuji, immediately notices the dirt on his clothes and his weary expression, teasingly asking if his latest trouble is related to a girl. Hinata tries to change the subject, asking Fuji which dungeon she visited today. She reveals with a casual smile that she went to Dungeon D86, a rank far more dangerous than anything Hinata usually faces. Hinata is shocked by the risk Fuji takes, feeling a renewed sense of motivation to work harder. Meanwhile, Fuji begins to explain the two main divisions of explorers to her eager roommate. Fuji describes the maintenance group, those who patrol cleared areas with established information and a lower death rate, making a safer path for many explorers. On the other hand, she warns him about the Conquest Group, the ones who step into unknown territory and walk alongside death. Despite the extreme danger, she points out that there are massive benefits for those brave enough to join. She mentions the Explorer ranking system, explaining that those in the top 10 receive exceptional treatment from the country and attention from around the world. There's even a rumored special reward for those at the very peak. Fuji tells him that many aim for the first place in the S rankings as their ultimate goal, a feat that most believe is almost impossible for an ordinary human to achieve. She brings up the current mystery shaking the world. An unregistered person has recently taken the rank 1 spot, a person so powerful that no one can surpass them anymore. That night, Hinata lies on his bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about the rumors. He wonders who this mysterious rank 1 person could be and what kind of person they are, completely unaware that it's actually him. The next morning, Hinata is jolted awake. He looks at the clock and nearly has a heart attack. It's 9:45 a.m. He suddenly remembers the terrifying promise he made to Shino. Who knows what she'll say if I'm late? Hinata cries, frantically throwing on his gear and rushing out the door. He knows Shino won't take a late arrival lightly, especially with her reputation for being unpredictable. While Hinata panics, Shino is already waiting patiently at the entrance of Dungeon E90. She has a playful, knowing smile on her face, seemingly anticipating the chaotic arrival of her new partner. Suzuki Hinata takes a moment to breathe, checking the results of his dungeon information skill. The speed increase, extreme buff from his unique skill Lucifer's Fall, is proving to be a game-changer. Nearby, Kagura Shino seems right at home in this dangerous environment, playfully interacting with the local bird-like monsters as Hinata watches from the shadows. Hinata decides to close the distance, but his sudden appearance catches Shino completely off guard, making her jump in surprise. High-level explorers aren't usually this stealthy. Shino pouts, annoyed that she couldn't detect him, while Hinata just shrugs it off with a smile. It's time to get serious and conquer this place. Hinata is impressed. Shino seems to have her own way of sensing monsters. She points toward their next target with absolute confidence. The skill Monster Analysis reveals their first opponent, a Kuna. It's weak to wind, and if they're lucky, it might drop a tiny magic stone. With a plan in place, they prepare to engage. Shino is eager to keep up the momentum from yesterday, and Hinata is ready to support her. Meanwhile, the Kuna lets out a fierce roar. The battle begins. The Kuna launches itself at Shino, but she's already moving to counter. Shino's combat style is dazzling. Hinata notices a subtle change in her movements compared to their previous fight, as she strikes the monster with pinpoint precision. Hinata doesn't just stand by. He joins the fray with a powerful kick, catching the Kuna mid-air. The force of their combined attack sends the monster tumbling away. Hinata is starting to realize just how strong his partner truly is. Shino is all smiles after the quick victory. She insists on giving Hinata all the materials they gathered, even as he wonders if she's actually an elite explorer in disguise. They continue their sweep of the area. Each encounter is a chance for Hinata to test his growing abilities against the dungeon's inhabitants. Another Kuna falls before their teamwork. Hinata is quickly getting used to their patterns, making the battles feel almost routine. As they finish off the small fry, Shino spots something exciting ahead. She calls out to Hinata, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. There it is, the entrance to the boss room. This is what they've been working towards. Before Hinata can even process it, Shino grabs his hand and starts pulling him toward the portal. She's in a hurry to face the floor boss of E90. They reach the inner sanctum. Shino explains that the entrance moves randomly once a boss is defeated, making it a rare find. Hinata looks around, realizing they're the only ones here. In her excitement, Shino clings to Hinata's arm, urging him to hurry. Hinata is flustered by the sudden closeness, his face turning a bright shade of red. Hinata tries to maintain his composure, but his wide eyes and blushing cheeks tell a different story. Shino, however, is purely focused on the challenge ahead. Their analysis skill identifies the boss, Gig, a massive wolf-like creature with a weakness to light. This is going to be their toughest fight yet. Standing before the floor boss, the scale of the challenge becomes clear. Gig is enormous, its presence heavy with killing intent as Hinata and Shino prepare for the clash. The beast lets out a deafening roar that shakes the very foundations of the dungeon. Hinata is momentarily stunned by its raw power, but Shino's excitement only grows as the monster finally lunges. Hinata snaps back to reality, his speed buff turning him into a blur. He meets Gig's charge head-on, striking its snout to create the opening they need to begin their coordinated assault. Hinata quickly recalls the strategy from the dungeon guidebook. If both party members are frontliners, coordination is key. He shouts for Shino to split to the right, initiating their pincer movement. Shino executes the maneuver perfectly, but warns Hinata to stay sharp. Gig isn't just a physical threat. It's preparing something much more dangerous. The sudden heat in the air gives it away. This beast breathes fire. Shino calls out the realization just as Hinata's eyes go wide with shock. A fire-breathing boss in an E90 dungeon is a nightmare scenario. Without warning, Gig unleashes a massive torrent of flames, engulfing everything in its path. The sheer scale of the attack is terrifying. Hinata's reflexes are the only thing keeping him alive. He barely manages to dodge the inferno, the heat singeing the air around him. He catches his breath, realized how close that was. But Gig isn't finished. The beast pivots, ready to sweep its fire breath toward Shino. The boss releases another wall of fire, forcing Shino to retreat as the flames lick at her heels. The floor of the boss room is becoming a sea of fire. Hinata screams her name in panic as the flames consume the area where Shino was standing. He fears the worst for his partner. But Shino isn't just any explorer. She emerges from the smoke and fire completely unscathed, a confident smirk on her face as she readies her batons for a counterstrike. With a powerful shout, Shino unleashes an attack that seems to push back the very flames of the boss. Her strength is truly on another level. The dust begins to settle, revealing the two of them standing their ground against the wounded beast. The battle is nearing its climax. Gig roars in frustration, lunging forward with its massive jaws. Shino dances around its strikes from above, while Hinata prepares to deliver the final blow. Kicking off the ground with incredible speed, Hinata becomes a blur. He moves too fast for Gig to track, aiming for the beast's vulnerable head. The strike lands with a sickening thud. Gig's head is driven into the floor by Hinata's powerful kick, the impact creating a shockwave that echoes through the chamber. The beast lets out a final, agonizing howl as Hinata continues to pour every ounce of his strength into the attack, determined to end this fight here and now. With one last massive crash, Gig is pinned to the ground, its life force rapidly fading. The level 0 and his mysterious partner have done the impossible. Shino looks on, her eyes wide with excitement and wonder as the boss finally falls silent. She can't help but be impressed by Hinata's performance. Yay, Hinata-kun, I defeated it. Shino cheers, throwing her arms up in victory. Gig lies defeated, its massive body starting to dissipate into dungeon essence. Hinata is still catching his breath, hardly able to believe it's actually over. Shino playfully pokes the remains of the boss, confirming that it won't be moving anymore. They share a light-hearted moment amidst the ruins of the boss room. Hinata insists the victory belongs to Shino, while she jokingly hints at some of her own secrets. They make their way back toward the entrance, both of them feeling the weight of the battle and the thrill of their success. Just as they step out, the portal to the boss room vanishes into thin air. Shino comments on how lucky they were to find it, as its appearance is completely unpredictable. Hinata laments missing out on the rare drop potions, which are worth a fortune, but Shino is already thinking about her stomach. She suggests heading to the city for a well-earned meal. As the adrenaline of battle fades, Shino suddenly clings to Hinata's arm, her cheerful mask momentarily slipping to reveal a desperate need for connection. Hinata freezes, his heart hammering against his ribs as the atmosphere between them shifts into something far more intimate and fragile. With a soft, almost pleading tone, she whispers that she couldn't bear it if he disappeared again. Looking at her, Hinata begins to sense the deep-seated fear hidden beneath her bright energy, the air between them growing heavy with a vulnerability that's about to break the surface. In the quiet after the dungeon, Shino suddenly looks down, her voice trembling as she offers a preemptive apology. Hinata is caught off guard by the sudden shift in her mood. She forces a small, fragile smile, promising herself that she'll try her best. But Hinata can see the anxiety bubbling just beneath the surface. As they step onto the busy city streets, the transition is jarring. The hustle and bustle of the crowd feels like a physical weight, and the noise is deafening. Shino reflexively squeezes Hinata's arm, her knuckles turning white. Hinata feels her pulse racing. The girl who just took down a floor boss is now visibly shaking. Hinata is deeply concerned. She was so cheerful just moments ago, but since they entered the city, her entire demeanor has changed. Something is very wrong. He watches her carefully, realizing she's not just uncomfortable, she's terrified. Her eyes are darting around, searching for an escape from the press of people. The scene triggers a memory for Hinata. He remembers taking his little sister, Hina, to a mall for the first time. She had been just like this, completely overwhelmed and paralyzed by the crowd. He suspects Shino is dealing with a similar trauma. His heart aches for her. He desperately wants to make it easier, to take away whatever pain she's feeling. Shino's grip on his arm tightens as she struggles to remain upright. He reflects on the fact that everyone lives with their own hidden scars. Shino keeps mumbling apologies through her fear, but Hinata tells her firmly that she has nothing to be sorry for. Determined to help, Hinata leads her away from the chaos of the main street. He hopes that a bit of distance from the crowd will allow her to find her footing again. But even in the relative quiet of a side alley, Shino remains leaned against him, her breathing shallow and ragged. The damage is already done. He looks at her, his mind racing. What exactly is making her suffer so much? Is it the noise? The presence of so many people? He needs to understand so he can protect her. The visual of the crowd flashes through his mind as if through Shino's eyes, a blurred, chaotic mess of faces and movement that feels like an assault on the senses. It hurts, my head hurts, she whimpers. The physical pain of the sensory overload is becoming too much for her to bear. The sounds of the city are echoing in her mind, distorted and magnified. She clutches her ears, trying to block out the world, but the noise feels internal. Hinata watches her misery, his resolve hardening into a sharp point. He won't let her go through this alone. Not anymore. He reaches out, his hand moving toward her head. Shino is too far gone into her panic to notice at first, lost in a world of static and fear. With a gentle but firm look, Hinata brings her back to the present. He needs her to focus on him, and him alone. Shino's eyes wide in surprise at his sudden proximity. Hinata holds up a pair of specialized earphones he noticed in her bag. "How do you normally live day to day?" he asks, his voice soft but commanding. "Why didn't you wear your earphones?" he asks, almost sounding angry in his concern. Shino's eyes well up with tears as she gives her heartbreaking reason. "Because I thought I could walk with you." The realization hits Hinata like a physical blow. She endured all that agony just because she didn't want to be isolated from him. He gently placed the earphones over her ears. "I'm really sorry I didn't notice," Hinata says, his eyes full of regret. Shino can't even find the words to respond, the relief of the silence washing over her. He looks at the devices, realizing they aren't for music or calls. They're specially designed to completely block out the world. They are her only shield against a reality that is too loud to handle. If these earphones mean Shino won't have to suffer, Hinata can accept them. But he knows his voice probably isn't reaching her anymore either. Is she really satisfied with that kind of life? He looks at her, a silent vow forming in his mind. He wants to do something about the big wall that trauma has built between Shino and the rest of the world, and between Shino and himself. Hinata's mind races as he watches Shino suffer. He remembers how he was able to protect Kimui-san from the biting cold that was hurting her. He wants to do the same for Shino, to reach through her wall of silence. Me. What can I do? He wonders desperately. He closes his eyes, focusing every ounce of his will on a single plea. Lend me your power, please. He needs a way to talk to her, to let her know she's not alone. In that moment of pure desperation, the system responds. A message flashes before his eyes. You have acquired the skill, telepathy, through inspiration. Hinata is stunned by the revelation. His wish has been granted. Shino, Hinata calls out, not with his voice, but with his mind. Shino freezes, her eyes widening in confusion as she looks around, trying to find the source of the sound she shouldn't be able to hear. She is completely bewildered. Through her noise-canceling earphones, the world should be silent, yet Hinata's voice is ringing clear and true. She gasps. That sad face doesn't suit you, Shino. Hinata continues, his mental voice warm and comforting. He explains that through his new skill, she can hear only him. Shino is speechless, her heart swelling with an emotion she can't quite name. Overwhelmed by the fact that he found a way to reach her, Shino lunges forward. She throws her arms around Hinata, clinging to him as if he's her only anchor in a chaotic world. She breaks down into tears, her face buried in his chest. Hinata just smiles gently, relieved that he could finally bridge the distance between them. Her tears are no longer from pain, but from pure relief. He realizes that the earphones, while meant to protect her, only served to isolate her from everyone else. She had no one to rely on, until now. He strokes her hair, a silent promise to stay by her side. They share a quiet, intimate moment as the city continues to rush by around them. Hinata wonders if this connection is what Shino has been searching for all along. But is this okay for now? He ponders. Shino won't stop thanking him through her sobs, her gratitude as intense as her previous fear. Hinata is a bit flustered by the outburst, but he's just glad she's okay. I'm so glad you're back to your usual self, Shino, Hinata says with a wide grin. The wall between them hasn't just been bypassed, it started to crumble. Only the two of them are truly connected in this moment. The skill list continues to grow. Alongside his core abilities like absolute stealth and monster analysis, telepathy now sits as a testament to the bond he's forged with Shino. The scene shifts to a high-level military briefing. A stern-faced marshal is in a foul mood. His subordinates have been stationed at the purchasing center for days, but they still can't find the mysterious seller of the rare magic stone Delta. Of all times, why now? He growls. He looks down at the object of their search, a stone so rare and powerful that its appearance has sent shockwaves through the highest levels of the government. This is the stone Hinata sold for what he thought was a pittance. The marshal warns the room not to open the case here, despite being in what should be the safest place in Japan. Two of the country's top-ranked individuals are present, Kimui Shuri and Kagura Toma. But the stone is already a source of intense conflict. He demands to know who leaked the information about the infinite magic stone. Both the Kimui and Kagura families have already made massive offers to buy it. The marshal knows exactly where the leak came from, and he isn't happy about it. You damn idiots, he bellows, slamming his desk in fury. He can't believe they'd spill military secrets to their own families. But Shuri and Toma aren't intimidated by his outburst. As expected, it was you guys, the marshal sighs. Kimui Shuri demands the stone be handed over immediately, citing the aid her family has provided the military. Kagura Toma isn't about to back down either, insisting his family is just as deserving. The tension in the room is electric. Your family just has a long history, that's all. Tomas shouts. We've provided more aid than your group. Shuri retorts. They've stopped acting like generals and started acting like rival family heads, both desperate to claim the stone. The argument boils down to one simple fact. There's only one stone, and both need it. Toma argues it's for his sister, while Shuri is equally determined to use it for hers. The marshal can only watch in exhaustion as they bicker like children. Toma thinks of Shino and how she can't even function without those specialized earphones. It breaks his heart to see her so limited, and he believes the magic stone is the only way to truly help her. That's exactly what makes it so tough, he says. Shuri shares a similar motivation. Her sister, Shizuku, is living under quarantine, unable to experience the world normally. Both families are willing to pay any price and fight any battle to give their sisters a chance at a normal life. This magic stone is their only hope. Are you serious? Toma asks, his eyes narrowing as he realizes Shuri is just as desperate as he is. Obviously, she replies, her gaze icy and uncompromising. In this high-stakes confrontation, neither of these powerful family heads is willing to yield even a single inch. For Toma, his own life is a small price to pay if it means Shino can finally live a normal life, and Shuri is just as committed to Shizuku's recovery. Their mutual desperation has reached a dangerous boiling point, and the heated argument is about to take a much more violent turn. The tension in the marshal's office reaches a breaking point. Then how about a duel? Shuri challenges. Bring it on. Toma yells back, but the old general has had enough. Wait, I won't allow a duel, he bellows, his voice shaking the room. He stares them down, his authority absolute. If you two fight, one of you will definitely end up beyond recovery, he warns. These are two of the strongest explorers in Japan. A serious clash between them would be a national disaster. The marshal delivers an ultimatum. If you fight without permission, I'll sink the magic stone to the bottom of the sea. The threat works. Toma and Shuri both back down, though they clearly aren't happy about it. Just wait a little longer, the marshal mutters. He reasons that if there's one seller, there might be more. We learn that Kagura Toma, for all his hot-headedness, is the third-ranked explorer in all of Japan. He's determined to get another stone for his family. Beside him, Kemui Shuri, the second-ranked explorer, is told to stay quiet. The hunt for the mysterious seller continues, but for now, the infinite magic stone remains under military lock and key. Back in the city, the atmosphere is far lighter. Shino is back to her usual bubbly self, pointing excitedly at a shop she wants to visit. Hinata is just relieved to see her smiling again after her earlier breakdown. They head into a cafe to escape the crowd. Hinata tries matching his telepathy with his lip movements, so it looks like he's actually speaking to her. Shino is amazed. To anyone else, it looks perfectly normal. Is this way better? He asks. Yes, this way is definitely better. Shino cheers, clapping her hands together. The silent barrier her earphones created is finally starting to feel like it's not there when she's with Hinata. At the counter, Shino rattles off a drink order so complex it sounds like a magical incantation. Hinata can only watch in bafflement, wondering how anyone could remember all those toppings. "Tada!" she exclaims when the drink finally arrives. She's absolutely delighted with the treat. Together with someone, she says with a shy, happy smile. It's clear this isn't just about the food for her, it's about the company. Hinata's heart skips a beat. She insists that Hinata try some too. He's surprised by how good it is, sweet but not overwhelming, with a rich coffee taste. Who knew such a mysterious incantation had this kind of power? He thinks. As they sit together, Hinata realizes something. In this way, this part of her really does remind me of my little sister, he says with a smile. Shino's reaction, however, is not what he expected. Hinata-kun, don't compare me to your little sister, she snaps, her face flushing with a mix of annoyance and embarrassment. Hinata is completely blindsided by her sudden intensity. The awkward moment is quickly forgotten as they both start laughing. But Shino isn't done with their outing yet. She grabs his arm and pulls him up. Well then, let's go, she says. Come on, time is limited, she calls out, dragging a bewildered Hinata toward their next destination. She's determined to make the most of every second of their day out. They dive headfirst into the city's offerings. Shino is a whirlwind of energy and Hinata can barely keep up as she leads him from one place to the next. For Shino, the crowded streets don't seem so scary when she's holding on to him. The day becomes a blur of fun. Eating more sweets, testing their luck at the claw machines, and Shino insisting Hinata try on different outfits. She's having the time of her life, and Hinata finds himself caught up in her infectious joy. As the sun sets, they walk through the quieted streets, their hands full of shopping bags. Shino is glowing with happiness, but as they approach their destination, Hinata's jaw drops. "We're already here. My house," she says. "Eh." Hinata gasps. Standing before him is a mansion so massive it looks like it belongs in a fairy tale. It's even more impressive than the Kamui family's estate. "What a mansion," he mutters. But the joy of the day seems to evaporate as they stand before the iron gates. Shino suddenly looks downcast, the energy drained from her. "Shino? What's wrong?" Hinata asks, sensing her sudden reluctance. "I don't want to go home," she pouts, her cheeks puffed out in a childish but genuine display of sadness. Hinata tries to be the voice of reason, reminding her that her parents will be worried. "No, you can't do that," he says gently. Shino sighs, revealing that her parents aren't even home. Then, she drops another bombshell. Her full name is Kagura Shino. Hinata is stunned. The Kagura family is one of the most powerful lineages in the country. Why didn't she tell him from the start? She explains that they are a wealthy family descended from a prestigious samurai lineage, just like the Kamui family. Hinata realizes he's been hanging out with high society royalty all day without even knowing it. Shino giggles, her mood lifting as she realizes Hinata hasn't changed despite learning her true identity. She confesses her fear. She didn't want him to feel awkward or treat her differently because of her prestigious family name. All she really wants is to be treated normally, if he's still okay with that. As she turns to go inside, she looks back one last time, her voice small and hopeful. "Will you hang out with me again?" Hinata gives her a warm, reassuring smile, his response bridging the gap between her world and his. But he has one more thing to say before the iron gates close between them. Hinata smiles at Shino, his words cutting through her lingering doubts. "We're a party, aren't we?" he says. Shino's eyes wide in surprise, her heart swelling with the simple, powerful truth of his words. She's finally found someone who sees her as more than just a name or a trauma. "Yeah." Shino beams, her smile brighter and more genuine than it's been all day. As she turns to enter her mansion, she feels a weight lifted from her shoulders. She isn't alone anymore. The scene shifts to the E117 Purchase Center, the hub for explorers to sell their dungeon finds. But today, the atmosphere is heavy and suffocating. Military personnel have completely taken over the area. Hinata arrives, planning to sell his latest materials, but he's immediately stopped in his tracks. There are quite a lot of soldiers around. What could it be? He wonders, his anxiety starting to spike. This isn't a normal day at the center. His blood turns cold as he looks at a large billboard. "If you possess this magic stone, please contact us immediately." It reads, showing a picture of the exact stone he sold. He also sees it listed for the 300,000 yen he received, realization hitting him like a physical blow. That's... He stammers. "Am I under suspicion? Am I being watched?" Panicked thoughts race through his mind. Every soldier feels like a direct threat, and his heart is pounding against his ribs. He gulps, trying to find a way out of this nightmare. Why? He screams internally. In the face of this intense psychological pressure, the system intervenes. "You have acquired the skill Poker Face due to this hardship," the message reads. Hinata's panic suddenly subsides, replaced by an unnatural, blank calmness. His eyes become empty as he focuses on staying composed. "See, calm down, stay calm." He repeats. "Good. I'll get through this with this." With Poker Face active, Hinata manages to maintain his cool under the watchful eyes of the military. He decides to quickly sell his dungeon materials and disappear before anyone connects him to the stone. He sighs, the tension still high. He checks the market prices for his E-rank materials. Items from Kuna and Jige monsters are fetching a decent price, much more than the trolls from his previous raid. It's a small win in a very stressful situation. So even among E-rank materials, Kuna and Jige materials are more expensive, he notes. He wonders why magic stones are suddenly so cheap, seeing them listed for only a few thousand yen. He remembers them being worth so much more in the past. Why are magic stones so cheap? He wonders, feeling like the world's economy has gone mad. Could it be the value has fallen? Then he sees it on a high-priority display. The stone he sold is listed by its official name, Magic Stone Adulton. The price listed next to it is a staggering 150 million yen. 150 million. What? Hinata is absolutely floored. He stares at the screen, counting the zeros over and over again. Wait. What's with all these zeros? He yells, nearly losing his poker face as the sheer scale of his mistake sinks in. He sold a fortune for pennies. The shock is total. Just what is going on? He can't wrap his head around how a single stone could be worth that much. The world feels like it's spinning as he realizes he was holding life-changing wealth in his hands just a few days ago. I knew it. There really was some kind of problem, wasn't there? He finally understands why the military is on high alert. He needs to get out of here fast. I'll just sell the materials and go home, he thinks, his mind in survival mode. Scary. Later that evening, the tension of the city is a world away. At home, his sister Hina is patting her stomach after a massive meal. Phew, I'm stuffed. She cheers, completely oblivious to her brother's stressful day. Thanks for the meal. Hinata watches in amusement as she immediately jumps into eating dessert. You still have an amazing appetite, he comments, exhausted but happy to be home. If only the hunger resistance skill wasn't just for emergencies. He jokes. By the way, where did you go today? Hina asks. Today I went to E90, he replies. Hina is impressed. Well, you went to another amazing place, she says, explaining that E90 is unpopular because it's so hard to find a boss. Hinata realizes that's exactly why the materials there are worth more. They share a quiet moment as he explains the supply and demand of dungeon loot. Really? Hina asks, her mouth full. Maybe I'll keep going E90. Then, I'll aim for bosses for a while, Hinata ponders. If he can consistently take down floor bosses, his financial situation will be secure, and he might even be able to buy back that stone one day. Maybe. 3 weeks pass in a flash. It's already the third week since enrollment. Everything's been so hectic, time flew by. Hinata thinks as he walks through the school courtyard. Suddenly, he spots a familiar figure in the distance. Kamui-san. Nearby students are gossiping about her. Hey, is that the rumored? Oh, it really is. Hinata hears a nickname he hasn't heard before. It's the Ice Princess. He pauses, the title sounding both grand and lonely. What? Ice Princess? Hinata wonders. The students explain that her ice powers and cold, distant expression earned her the name. Wow, that's hilarious. It's perfect, one student laughs. Hinata just watches her, knowing there's much more behind that cold gaze than they could ever understand. The chapter concludes with a look at Hinata's ever-growing skill list. Poker Face is now an essential part of his repertoire, a shield he developed under the most extreme pressure. As he continues his journey, the mystery of the magic stone and the secrets of the S-rank girls are only just beginning to unfold. Suzuki Hinata arrives at school, walking with a sense of purpose that belies his level 0 status. Even in the ordinary morning light, there's a weight to his presence that wasn't there before. He is soon greeted by Kamui Hinata, whose sudden appearance catches him off guard. She offers a warm morning greeting, her presence drawing the immediate attention of those around them. As they talk, Kamui Hinata looks at him with a mix of surprise and curiosity. She can sense it. Suzuki Hinata has grown significantly stronger in a very short time. In the background, the usual whispers of the school hallways follow them. Other students can't help but gossip, wondering why a level 0, like him, is even allowed in such a prestigious institution. The atmosphere turns hostile as a group of bullies watches them from a distance. Their glares are sharp, filled with resentment at seeing someone they consider inferior walking alongside a genius like Kimyui Hinata. Inside the classroom, the tension peaks. Kai, the school's notorious bully, is already waiting, perched arrogantly on a desk as Suzuki Hinata enters. Kai's eyes are cold and predatory, fixed squarely on the boy he has tormented for so long. He doesn't even try to hide the malicious intent behind his gaze. Before Suzuki Hinata can even take a seat, Kai lunges forward and grabs him by the collar, his grip tight and aggressive as he corners him against the railing. "Hey, Hinata!" Kai barks, mocking him for only being brave enough to show up when Kimyui Hinata isn't around to shield him. Kai's smile is twisted as he needles Suzuki Hinata further, mentioning how suspiciously close he's been getting to the Ice Princess lately. Suzuki Hinata's gaze drops, his eyes narrowing as he feels a familiar, dark frustration beginning to boil over. He's had enough of the labels and the mockery. To the rest of the world, Kimyui Hinata is just the Ice Princess, a cold, emotionless genius. It's a title forced upon her by people who never bothered to look past her family's name. But Suzuki Hinata knows that's a lie. His fist clenches, the mark on his skin glowing with the heat of his rising anger at Kai's blatant disrespect. He thinks of her true smile and the kindness she shares in private. Unlike Kai, he has seen the rich emotions she hides from a world that only expects coldness from her. "You don't know anything about her," he shouts, his voice exploding with a raw intensity that catches Kai completely off guard. He scoffs at this stupid nickname, his fury reaching a breaking point as he defends the person who was there for him when no one else was. At that moment, a system message flashes before his eyes. His pure rage has birthed a new skill: intimidation. He warns Kai to never use that name again. Kai freezes, the blood draining from his face as a suffocating, murderous aura begins to emanate from the boy he once called a weakling. The entire area seems to crack under the pressure of Suzuki Hinata's killing intent. The Level 0 student has become something terrifying. Terrified but desperate to save face, Kai tries to force himself to stand tall, barking out one last desperate insult to hide the fact that he's shaking. "Don't act like a tough guy," Kai screams, launching a desperate, uncoordinated punch in a frantic attempt to break the pressure. But it's useless. Suzuki Hinata moves like a shadow, his speed vastly outstripping anything Kai has ever encountered in their previous encounters. He counters with a swift, punishing strike. His movements are a blur of suppressed pain and newfound power, aimed directly at the bully's arrogant core. Kagura Ashino watches from the sidelines, her eyes wide with shock. She's never seen this side of Suzuki Hinata, a side so consumed by a terrifying, lethal intent that it seems to freeze the very air around him. As the dust settles, Suzuki Hinata looms over his defeated tormentor, his eyes cold and void of mercy. The boy who was once called a helpless Level 0 is gone, replaced by something much darker and far more dangerous that is on the verge of crossing a line. Kagura Ashino's voice rings out in a desperate plea, begging Suzuki Hinata not to kill the bully. Her face is a mask of pure panic as she watches him stand over Kai, radiating an aura of absolute death. Even after being saved, Kai can't help but spit out one last insult, calling Kagura Ashino the Bug Princess. Suzuki Hinata, meanwhile, remains in a trance-like state of shock, his mind reeling from the intensity of his own rage. The weight of his actions begins to sink in. Suzuki Hinata realizes that just a moment ago, he was truly prepared to take a life. Kai lies crumpled on the floor, the realization of his near-death experience finally breaking his arrogant spirit. A heavy silence falls over the rooftop as the initial explosion of violence fades. Kai is nothing more than a heap on the tiles, while Kagura Ashino stays close to Suzuki Hinata, sensing the turmoil swirling within him. The memory of the strike is still fresh, a brutal display of power that left Kai gasping for air. It wasn't just a punch. It was a physical manifestation of years of suppressed frustration finally being unleashed. Suzuki Hinata looks at his hands with a sense of dread, wondering where that lethal instinct came from. Kagura Shino gently leads him away, suggesting they leave the scene before things escalate further, while the bully remains groveling in the dust. As they walk away, Suzuki Hinata steals one last glance back. Guy Kai looks utterly humiliated, his pride as a strong student completely dismantled by a level 0. The system interface appears, revealing the full extent of Suzuki Hinata's hidden potential. Amidst a staggering list of active and passive skills, Intimidation stands out as the newest addition, a dark gift born from his moment of absolute fury. Once they find a quiet corner, Kagura Shino confronts him with the truth. She knows he wasn't just fighting. She felt his genuine intent to kill Kai back there. She looks into his eyes with a profound sense of worry, her expression showing that she cares more about his mental state than the fight they just escaped. Kagura Shino speaks softly, admitting that while they haven't been friends for long, she knows deep down that he isn't a murderer. She saw a side of him she didn't recognize, and she wants to pull him back from the edge. Suzuki Hinata admits his dark thoughts. He felt an undeniable urge to strike Kai's defenseless neck as a way to avenge the insults thrown at Kimui Hinata. The rage was so cold, so logical, that it terrified even him. Kagura Shino grabs his arm, her eyes burning with an intense need to reach him. She calls his name, her touch a grounding force designed to snap him out of his spiraling guilt. In the distance, Kimui Hinata stands in the middle of the hallway, watching the two of them with an unreadable expression. The Ice Princess has seen more than she expected. The group moves to a private training room, where the two S-rank girls finally face each other. Suzuki Hinata stands awkwardly in the middle as Kagura Shino and Kimui Hinata trade formal introductions, the tension in the room reaching an all-time high. Suzuki Hinata is completely overwhelmed by the surreal situation. He can't believe that after a near-fatal fight, he's now stuck between two of the most powerful girls in school as they exchange a polite but icy handshake. The sparks fly almost immediately. Kagura Shino notes Kimui Hinata's famously cold aura with a playful but sharp comment, leaving Suzuki Hinata to sweat as he desperately tries to keep the peace. When the girls turn their undivided attention to him, Suzuki Hinata can only offer a nervous smile, feeling the weight of their expectations bearing down on him. Sitting on the floor, Kimui Hinata bluntly accuses Kagura Shino of bullying him. Kagura Shino is absolutely shocked, insisting that she was the one looking out for him all along. Kagura Shino's jaw drops when Suzuki Hinata agrees with her, but the way Kimui Hinata is staring at them both suggests she's not entirely convinced. The atmosphere shifts to a more serious tone. Kimui Hinata looks at him with a piercing gaze and asks him a fundamental question. Does he really think of himself as weak? Suzuki Hinata's answer is immediate and without hesitation. He knows he's a level 0, and in this world, that means he is the definition of weak. It's a fact he's had to live with every single day. Kagura Shino refuses to let him talk like that. She reminds him of their first meeting, where he took down a massive troll in a single blow. Suzuki Hinata tries to deflect the praise, claiming he just got lucky and hit a weak spot. Kagura Shino then drops a bombshell, revealing that she has seen a special power within Suzuki Hinata that shouldn't exist. Both he and Kimui Hinata are left speechless, especially since the protagonist himself remains completely unaware of the extraordinary ability she's describing. As she recounts the moment, he seemingly vanished into thin air. Kimui Hinata is visibly shaken. The idea of a level 0 possessing such high-tier stealth is impossible. But for Kagura Shino, the mystery goes even deeper than just what she saw. It's about what her unique senses failed to find. Kagura Shino explains her predicament. Despite her heightened hearing, Suzuki Hinata is a complete enigma to her. He produces no sound and leaves no trace, as if the world's senses simply can't find him. To her, it's nothing short of amazing. She elaborates on her S-rank latent ability. It's a powerful but exhausting gift that allows her to perceive every subtle sound and even read the hidden emotions or physical conditions of those around her just by listening. Holding up her specialized earphone, Kagura Shino reveals that she wears them to block out the overwhelming noise of the world. Because she often seemed distant while wearing them, people mockingly labeled her the Bug Princess, a name that Suzuki Hinata remembers Kai, using to hurt her. The weight of her struggle hits him hard. Suzuki Hinata looks down, his voice trembling with a frustration that has been building up since they entered this room. He simply can't stand the cruelty of those nicknames. Clenching his fist, Suzuki Hinata's anger boils over. He can't stand how people label them so carelessly without knowing who they truly are. To him, Kimui Hinata isn't a cold ice princess. She's a hardworking girl with a heart of gold who deeply cares for her family. His sudden, passionate defense leaves the two girls speechless. Kagura Shino leans in with a playful yet touched look in her eyes, surprised to see him getting so worked up purely for their sake. Kagura Shino breaks into a genuine, bright laugh. She admits that if Suzuki Hinata is willing to get angry on her behalf, then maybe all those years of being called names weren't so bad after all. The bond between them is clearly growing stronger. For the first time, the heavy atmosphere in the room truly lifts. Both Kagura Shino and Kimui Hinata share a warm, heartfelt smile, feeling a connection that goes far deeper than system ranks or levels. But the moment of joy is brief for Suzuki Hinata. He sinks back into his own thoughts, the shadow of his own secret looming over the connection they just made. He knows it's time to be honest with them. Taking a deep breath, Suzuki Hinata finally confesses his truth. While they were born with S-rank potential, he has been cursed with the opposite. His level has been stuck at 0 from the very moment he was born. He recounts the years of mockery, of being branded the eternal level 0, and told by everyone that he had no future as an explorer. Despite his intense training and hard study, the world refused to see him as anything more than a failure. Suzuki Hinata remembers the hope he felt when he enrolled in this school, thinking a fresh start might finally change his fate. Instead, he found the same cruelty with people like Kai, waiting to drag him back down into the dirt. His anger turns inward, a painful question echoing in his mind. Why is he the only one cursed with this stagnation? No matter where he runs, the level 0 label follows him like a ghost that refuses to leave. Just as Suzuki Hinata starts to spiral into his own darkness, a gentle touch brings him back. Kimui Hinata reaches out, her hand steady on his arm, silently offering her support. With tears glistening in her eyes, Kimui Hinata tells him that she doesn't care about his level. To her, his arrival at the school was a blessing because he was the one who taught her how to connect with the world and others again. She shares how she can finally smile at her mother and how she feels stronger than ever, all because he was there to support her when she felt most alone. Her gratitude is clear in every word. The sincerity of her words hits Suzuki Hinata like a physical wave. He stares at her, his eyes welling up as the walls he built around his heart begin to crumble under her kindness. All his life, Suzuki Hinata just wanted to be acknowledged for who he truly is, not just as a brother or a son, but in a real, true way. Looking at the two girls, he finally sees that acknowledgement in their warm expressions. A single tear escapes as a genuine, relieved smile spreads across Suzuki Hinata's face. After years of isolation and mockery, he has finally found people who see his worth, not his level. In a beautiful moment of shared gratitude, the two girls look at him with pure affection. Kimui Hinata thanks him for the warmth of connection, and Kagura Shino thanks him for finally letting her hear his true voice. The three of them sit together in the quiet room, a true party forged not by system ranks, but by mutual understanding and shared pain. For the first time, Suzuki Hinata truly feels like he belongs. Looking at his companions, Suzuki Hinata realizes that despite their high levels, They have faced hardships far greater than his own. He makes a silent vow to never let them suffer alone again. With a bright, blushing smile, Suzuki Hinata thanks them from the bottom of his heart for being so kind to someone like him. The joy on his face is unmistakable. But the heartfelt moment is quickly cut short as the mood takes a sharp, playful turn. Kagura Shino gets right in his face, blushing furiously, and declares that saying someone like me is officially banned from now on. Not to be outdone, Kamui Hinata joins in, clearly having a bone of her own to pick with the way he addresses her. Kamui Hinata leans in close, her face beet red as she makes a demand that catches him completely off guard. She's done with the formalities. She doesn't want him to call her Kinsen ever again, feeling a sense of distance in that title that she's no longer willing to accept. Kamui Hinata leans in close, her face flushed with a mix of frustration and shyness. She wants to know why Suzuki Hinata calls Kagura Shino by her first name, but refuses to do the same for her. Suzuki Hinata is completely overwhelmed, his heart rate skyrocketing, a detail Kagura Shino gleefully points out. Kagura Shino, always the mischievous one, finds the whole situation hilarious. Since both girls have Hina in their names, she suggests a compromise. Why doesn't he just call both of them Hina-chan? Suzuki Hinata can only offer a weak, sweat-drenched response to the playful idea. The proposal is met with absolute enthusiasm from Kamui Hinata, who is clearly overjoyed at the prospect. Suzuki Hinata, however, is stuck in a loop of pure embarrassment, unable to find his voice as the two girls close in on him with expectant smiles. Pushed into a corner, Suzuki Hinata finally gives in. With his face burning bright red and his gaze averted, he softly whispers the name, Hina. It's a small step, but a massive breakthrough for the bond they share. The reaction is instantaneous. Kamui Hinata is left blushing and stunned, while Kagura Shino teases him mercilessly about his insane heart rate. Their playful bickering continues as the scene fades, marking the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. As the group officially forms their party, a new dynamic begins to take shape. Kagura Shino, curious as ever, asks what the others usually do for training, sparking a serious conversation about their unique abilities and how they can improve together. Kamui Hinata explains that they've been working on suppressing her ice god's blessing. She wants Suzuki Hinata to glare at her with all his might, believing that the sheer pressure of his gaze will provide the necessary stimulus to help her gain better control over her powers. They take their positions in the center of the vast training hall. Kamui Hinata and Kagura Shino stand ready, their expressions hardening as they prepare themselves to face the full, unbridled weight of Suzuki Hinata's intimidation. Suzuki Hinata takes a deep breath, focusing his energy. He warns them that he's about to begin, his gaze sharpening into something lethal as he prepares to unleash the skill he recently acquired through his pure rage. In an instant, the atmosphere shifts. Suzuki Hinata's glare is like a physical force, a wave of pure intimidation that sweeps through the room. The girls are visibly shaken, their eyes wide as they struggle to remain standing under the sudden, crushing pressure of his presence. The intensity is far more than they expected. Both Kamui Hinata and Kagura Shino collapse to their knees, gasping for air as the weight of Suzuki Hinata's aura continues to bear down on them, leaving them trembling and physically drained. Panting heavily, the girls try to process what just happened. They're shocked by the sheer magnitude of his power, noting that the aura he radiates now is exponentially more intense than anything they experienced just a week ago. Suzuki Hinata immediately drops the act, rushing over with water bottles in hand. He's genuinely worried, wondering if the intimidation skill he just acquired is much more powerful than he realized, or if he accidentally unleashed too much. The girls are still too weak to stand, their legs having completely given out from a shock. As they recover on the floor, the scene shifts to the exterior of the Academy's training buildings, marking the end of their intense practice session. Back outside, Suzuki Hinata is still apologizing profusely for the intensity of his glare. Kagura Shino brushes it off with a smirk, though she admits that if it were anyone else, the experience would have been truly traumatizing. As they walk away, Kimui Hinata stops the group. She has a serious request from her family, specifically her mother, who is eager to see Suzuki Hinata again. The invitation clearly carries a lot of weight for her. At the Kimui estate, they are greeted by a woman with long, dark hair and a radiating, warm smile. She welcomes Suzuki Hinata enthusiastically, her kind demeanor instantly easing the tension of their arrival at the grand family home. The mother is surprised to see Kagura Shino there as well. Suzuki Hinata and Kagura Shino offer their polite greetings, though there's a hint of awkwardness as the two rival families stand face-to-face in a domestic setting. Kimui Hinata looks down, her fingers fidgeting nervously. She relays her mother's wish to have a meal with him again, but her own quiet, hopeful expression shows she shares the same desire to spend more time together. Suzuki Hinata agrees to the invitation, much to Kimui Hinata's delight. Her face lights up with a radiant smile as she thanks him, while Kagura Shino observes the growing dynamic between the two with a thoughtful expression. However, Kagura Shino's expression remains somewhat guarded. But before she can pull away, Kimui Hinata warmly invites her to join them for dinner as well, catching Shino completely off guard with a gesture of friendship. As they walk through the estate, Kagura Shino explains the deep-seated rivalry. The Kamui and Kagura families have been like cats and dogs for generations, supposedly sparked by a conflict over a lover from many years ago. Despite the historical tension, the atmosphere inside is unexpectedly welcoming. Kimui Hinata's mother ushers them in with open arms, and the girls share a rare moment of light-hearted banter, proving that the old feuds might finally be thawing. They settle into a traditional Japanese-style room, where the serene, classic environment of the Kimui home offers a refreshing change from the modern, Western-style settings Suzuki Hinata is used to. However, beneath the calm, there's an underlying sense that the true authority of this house is about to reveal itself. That feeling is confirmed when a sliding door pulls open with a sharp sound, revealing a stern old man in traditional robes. This is Kamui Jaizu, the legendary grandfather of the family, a master whose formidable presence and sharp, observant eyes immediately fill the room with an undeniable weight. Kamui Jaizu, the legendary head of the Kimui family, recognizes Kagura Shino's potential immediately. He notes that he heard the Kagura name and came to see for himself, clearly impressed by the young lady before him. Suzuki Hinata stands by, feeling the immense weight of the old master's presence. The grandfather turns his attention to Suzuki Hinata, praising him for how much stronger he has become in just a few short days. Suzuki Hinata is visibly stunned. To be acknowledged by a warrior of such status is something he never expected. The stern atmosphere is broken by Kimui Hinata's mother, who appears with a bright smile to announce that dinner is finally ready. Her warmth is a stark contrast to the heavy aura the grandfather carries. In a surprising turn of events, the grandfather decides to join them for the meal. The household staff is shocked, as it's incredibly rare for him to eat with others. Even Kimui Hinata is bewildered by her grandfather's sudden change of heart. The dinner is a lively affair. Kimui Hinata's mother expresses her joy at being able to share a meal with Suzuki Hinata again. However, the conversation takes a somber turn as Suzuki Hinata learns that ever since her powers awakened at age 10, Kimui Hinata has often had to eat alone because her cold aura would freeze the food and the atmosphere. As the meal concludes, Kimui Jaizu makes a bold request. He wants Suzuki Hinata to visit and eat with them every single day. Suzuki Hinata is flustered by the invitation, while Kimui Hinata is both shocked and secretly hopeful that he'll agree. Under the quiet night sky, Suzuki Hinata and Kagura Shino bid farewell to the Kamui family. Suzuki Hinata looks back at the estate, moved by the deep love he saw between Kimui Hinata and her relatives. It's a side of the ice princess few ever get to see. As they walk through the city streets under a full moon, Suzuki Hinata reflects on the concept of family. Beside him, Kagura Shino finally lets out a long breath, admitting that she was incredibly nervous being around such legendary warriors. Kagura Shino explains why the encounter was so significant. Kimui Jaizu isn't just a grandfather. He's a living legend. Anyone born into a warrior family knows his name. He is a figure of absolute authority and power. She goes even further, revealing that if you were to ask who the strongest person in all of Japan is, Kimui Jaizu's name will be the very first one mentioned. Suzuki Hinata breaks into a cold sweat, realizing just how big of a deal the invitation to come every day really is. The next day, the two friends discuss their plans. Suzuki Hinata mentions that he's thinking of heading to the dungeon alone for a while to focus on his own growth. Kagura Shino stops in her tracks, clearly not happy with that idea. She puffs her cheeks in a cute, albeit frustrated, display of anger. It's clear that she has no intention of being left behind while he goes off on his own adventures. Kagura Shino reminds him that they are a party now. She admits that she only attends classes for the sake of appearances anyway. Since her hearing is so sensitive, traditional lectures are nearly impossible for her to endure. She'd much rather be out in the field with him. She leans in with a playful smile, telling him flat out that she simply wants to spend more time with him. Her bluntness leaves Suzuki Hinata blushing and completely speechless. Kagura Shino continues her playful interrogation, asking if he's forgotten about Kimui Hinata too. She warns him that if he leaves her behind, the Ice Princess might actually cry. Suzuki Hinata can only offer a hurried apology as he realizes the weight of his companion's expectations. The next day at school, the Explore special curriculum officially begins. The instructor delivers a stern warning. For an explorer, death is always lurking around the corner. Those who wish to gain practical experience are allowed to skip afternoon classes to enter the dungeons. Suzuki Hinata is fired up for the new curriculum, his eyes bright with anticipation. It's the perfect opportunity to prove himself. During the lesson, he notices Kimui Hinata glancing back at him, her expression serious as she asks if they can talk later. Later, Suzuki Hinata and Kimui Hinata meet up on the school rooftop. The open air and quiet atmosphere provide a needed break from the bustling hallways of the academy. They are soon joined by Kagura Shino, who arrives with her usual high energy. She apologizes for the wait, her presence instantly turning the quiet meeting into a more lively gathering. The three of them settle down on a mat for lunch. Kagura Shino suggests making this a daily tradition, and the others readily agree. The rooftop has become their new sanctuary within the school. Kimui Hinata reveals that her mother prepared a special lunchbox for her and made enough for everyone. She pulls out an impressively large and beautifully arranged set of meals, surprising Suzuki Hinata with the generosity of her family. With a chorus of itadakimasu, they begin their meal. The atmosphere is warm and friendly, a stark contrast to the competitive and often cruel environment of the school below. During lunch, Suzuki Hinata drops a bombshell. He and Kagura Shino have officially formed a party. Kimui Hinata freezes, her eyes wide with a mix of shock and confusion at the sudden revelation. Suzuki Hinata reveals that he and Kagura Shino have already taken the leap and formed a formal party. Kimui Hinata is momentarily stunned by the news, her shock slowly melting into a soft, hopeful smile, while Shino watches her reaction with a playful, knowing smirk. As they discuss their future plans and the dungeons ahead, the bond between the three of them feels stronger than ever. Kimui Hinata looks at her new friends with a mix of excitement and uncertainty, sensing that a life-changing proposal is just a heartbeat away. On the school rooftop, Suzuki Hinata makes a formal invitation. He wants Kimui Hinata to join their party. The request catches her completely off guard, her eyes wide with a mix of shock and pure hope. For someone used to isolation, the idea of being wanted in a team is overwhelming. Despite her excitement, Kimui Hinata hesitates. She worries that her ice god's blessing might make her a burden or get in their way during a fight. Suzuki Hinata just smiles warmly, reassuring her that having her by their side would make him feel much better. His sincere words instantly melt her icy reservations. Kagura Shino, true to her nature, can't help but tease them both. She playfully suggests that Kimui Hinata only wants to join so she can keep Suzuki Hinata all to herself. The comment sends Kimui Hinata into a blushing frenzy, her face burning red as she frantically denies the accusation, while Suzuki Hinata can only look on, flustered and sweating. Setting aside the teasing, Kimui Hinata takes a moment to show her true resolve. With a look of absolute determination and her face still pink with embarrassment, she formally begs to join the party, promising to work her hardest so she never becomes a burden to them. The response is unanimous and full of joy. Both Suzuki Hinata and Kagura Shino welcome her with open arms and bright, genuine smiles. The trio has finally come together, marking the start of a partnership that promises to change everything. As the sun shines down on the rooftop, Kimui Hinata's laughter rings out, a sound of pure, unadulterated happiness. With her addition, the strongest party is officially formed. Even as Kagura Shino continues her playful teasing about what might happen when the two are alone, the sense of belonging and hope for the future is unmistakable. This is just the beginning of their legendary journey. Welcome to Dungeon E90, where the monsters are big and the roars are even bigger. A giant beast lets out a scream that would send most people running for the hills. But Suzuki Hinata isn't just most people. He might be the world's most famous level 0, but his determination is purely S rank as he prepares to face the threat. Watch out! The monster lunges forward like a blur. Suzuki Hinata shouts a warning to Kimui Shizuku, but she stays as calm as a frozen lake. She's totally in the zone. Kimui Shizuku reaches for her blade, her focus narrowing down to a single, lethal point. This is where the real show starts. Kamui style, first form. She moves with a graceful, deadly speed that reminds everyone why her family is a legend in the hunting world. Blue flash. In a literal blink of an eye, she closes the distance. The monster didn't even have time to blink before the strike landed. Talk about a clean cut. The beast is sliced right down the middle before it can even finish its roar. Both Suzuki Hinata and Kagura Shino are left absolutely speechless by her power. Kagura Shino can't help but be impressed. Kamui Shizuku is this strong even without tapping into her latent abilities? Now that's what you call a true genius. And that rare smile. Kamui Shizuku looks genuinely happy for a moment. Suzuki Hinata smiles back, relieved to see his friend opening up through combat. Seeing Shizuku shine gets Kagura Shino's competitive spirit burning. She's not about to let anyone else have all the fun, and the next monster is about to learn that lesson the hard way. She readies her gear with a confident grin. If Shizuku is the cold blade, Kagura Shino is the explosive force that keeps the party balanced. Boom! Kagura Shino unleashes a massive shockwave, blasting the next monster away effortlessly. These girls are definitely on another level. Wait, what was that? Suzuki Hinata spots a chain whipping through the air. It's certainly not your average adventuring gear. Kagura Shino is more than happy to explain. It's a magic weapon made from a nebula monster. She's got a few tricks up her sleeve, that's for sure. The monsters keep coming, but they're just practice for these two. Suzuki Hinata watches them work, his mind filled with a mix of awe and a bit of unease about his own role. They're taking them down one after another with terrifying efficiency. It's a flawless, violent dance of S-rank talent. But for Suzuki Hinata, the sight is a double-edged sword. He feels completely useless, like he's just a bystander in his own party. It's a hard pill to swallow. Then, a sudden prompt for monster dismantling pops up, and Kimui Shizuku is stunned by how fast he works. Even when he's trying to be humble, Suzuki Hinata has a way of surprising everyone. Kagura Shino tells Shizuku to just accept it. Some things about Hinata aren't worth worrying about. Meanwhile, Suzuki Hinata is busy planning how to be the best support ever, from dismantling to carrying all the luggage. But the dungeon isn't done with him yet. A massive pulse of energy radiates from his body as he acquires the skill Floor Search. This changes the game completely. Suddenly, the entire dungeon structure is laid bare in his mind. Treasures, monsters, hidden paths, he can see it all. He points the way with a newfound surge of confidence. With his guidance, they've bypassed the maze and find themselves right at the boss room. Suzuki Hinata is beaming. He finally feels like he's actually contributing to the team. He's riding high on the success of his new skill, but the atmosphere quickly shifts. Kamui Shizuku's eyes are fixed on the door, and she's looking incredibly serious. Standing before the boss's lair, Kamui Shizuku makes a bold request. She wants to face the final enemy alone to test her special training. Her friends can see the unwavering determination in her eyes, even as she prepares to step into the fray solo. Suzuki Hinata watches her nervously. He knows the ice god's blessing has been a source of immense pain and isolation for Shizuku for years. As she readies herself to embrace that power, the massive shadow of the dungeon's true ruler begins to loom over her. The boss of the dungeon, a massive black wolf with menacing red eyes, looms over Kamui Shizuku. Suzuki Hinata watches nervously from the sidelines, shouting out a desperate plea for her not to push herself too far. Kamui Shizuku grips the hilt of her katana, her resolve hardening. Behind her, Suzuki Hinata and Kagura Shino cheer her on. Hinata's voice rings out, promising that no matter what happens, they will always have her back. The temperature in the room plummets instantly. As Kamui Shizuku takes a deep breath, jagged shards of ice begin to erupt from the ground beneath her boots. The power she's been suppressing is finally starting to leak out. This isn't just a fight against a monster. It's a battle against herself. Kamui Shizuku is determined to finally master the ice god's blessing, the very power that has made her feel like an outcast for so long. Suzuki Hinata watches the freezing mist and realizes something incredible. His own passive skills are perfectly countering the cold. Seeing Kamui Shizuku struggle with the burden of her power, his resolve flares. He wants to be the one to support her, to repay her kindness with his own will. Kamui Shizuku feels the change within herself. She's stronger now, and she knows exactly why. It's because Suzuki Hinata is there, standing by her side, giving her the courage to face her destiny. She springs into action, her feet barely touching the frozen ground. Suzuki Hinata watches with wide eyes, feeling the intensity of the moment as she prepares her ultimate move. With a burst of speed, Kamui Shizuku charges directly at the giant wolf. She isn't running away anymore. She knows she can do this. The wolf roars, unleashing a blast of energy, but Kamui Shizuku's gaze never wavers. She's ready to face the full weight of the ice god's blessing head-on. Kamui style, second form. Kamui Shizuku draws her blade in a sweeping arc, her expression one of pure, focused fury. The air around her screams as the temperature hits absolute zero. Freezing slash. A colossal wave of icy energy erupts from her sword, engulfing everything in its path. The sheer scale of the attack is unlike anything seen before. The black wolf is instantly encased in a tomb of jagged ice, its roar silenced forever. Kamui Shizuku stands amidst the wreckage, the undisputed master of the battlefield. Suzuki Hinata is left trembling, not from the cold, but from the raw display of S-rank power he just witnessed. It's overwhelming, terrifying, and beautiful all at once. Kagura Shino stares at the frozen wasteland, realizing the true terrifying potential of an S-rank latent ability. Kamui Shizuku stands alone at the center of the destruction, looking back at her friends with a heavy heart. A glimpse into the system reveals the sheer depth of the abilities at play. From active skills like absolute ice melting and floor search to a laundry list of passive resistances, including cold air resistance and freezing resistance, the true nature of their powers is beginning to surface. The dust settles, leaving Kamui Shizuku standing solitary in the middle of the frozen chamber. Suzuki Hinata senses the wall she's building around herself, and starts to move, unable to let her stand alone in that cold world. Hina. Suzuki Hinata reaches out, his hand trembling. Kamui Shizuku keeps her back turned, her voice barely a whisper as she calls his name, clearly fearing his reaction to her true power. She finally turns, her eyes hidden by her hair as she asks if he despises her now that he's seen the monster she truly is. The question hits Suzuki Hinata like a physical blow. Seeing her pain, Suzuki Hinata makes a silent vow. He doesn't care about the cold or the danger. He resolved to protect her, and he isn't going to let a little ice stand in his way. Without a second thought, Suzuki Hinata lunges forward and pulls Kamui Shizuku into a tight hug. "There's no way I despise you," he tells her, his warmth cutting through the freezing air. He holds her close, telling her that her power is incredible. He understands now that the only time this power is a threat is when it's used to push away the people she cares about. "I promise, I will protect you," Suzuki Hinata whispers into her ear. It's a vow made from the depths of his soul, a promise to be the shield she never had. A strange, dark determination flickers in Suzuki Hinata's eyes. He knows he has a power of his own now, something that can finally help him break the chains binding her. Absolute ice dissolution. Suzuki Hinata raises his hand, unleashing a powerful wave of energy that ripples through the entire room. In this moment, he isn't just a level 0. He's rewriting the very laws of the dungeon to reach the heart of the storm. He sees the real Kamui Shizuku, not a cold goddess of ice, but a beautiful girl who's been trapped in a lonely curse for far too long. As he holds her, he resolves to be the one to shatter her frozen world, vowing that she will never have to face the cold alone again. Suzuki Hinata continues to hold Kamui Shizuku close, promising to always be by her side. As he makes this vow, the mysterious X mark on his hand begins to glow with a faint, ethereal light, as if acknowledging his resolve. For Kamui Shizuku, the cold world she once knew is starting to melt away. Tears stream down her face, but she's finally wearing a genuine, heartfelt smile. She's not alone anymore. Kagura Shino watches the two of them with a playful, yet slightly envious gaze. She can't resist breaking the romantic tension, jokingly telling Kamui Shizuku that she should be the one to say those cool lines next time. Suzuki Hinata is instantly snapped back to reality, his face turning beet red. The embarrassment hits Suzuki Hinata like a truck. He screams internally, wishing he could erase that cringeworthy line from everyone's memory. Kagura Shino, of course, isn't about to let him forget it, continuing her relentless teasing. "I'll protect you," she mimics, leaving him completely flustered. Kagura Shino really knows how to push his buttons. She leans in with puppy dog eyes, asking if he'll protect her too. It's a hilarious contrast to the high-stakes battle they just finished. Suzuki Hinata has had enough and points out that her tears are obviously eye drops. Talk about a mood killer. But then Kagura Shino gets curious. How on earth did he find the boss room so easily? That's something even high rankers struggle with without a lot of luck. He casually mentions his new floor exploration skill, leaving both girls in complete shock. While they're processing that bombshell, Suzuki Hinata looks at a potion dropped by a Jige monster, realizing just how valuable these items really are. The girls are left scratching their heads. What exactly is a skill? And how did a level 0 like him just happen to pick one up? The mysteries around Suzuki Hinata are only getting deeper. Sometime later, the group arrives at the impressive Kamui household. They are greeted by the head of the family, Kamui Jaizu, an old man whose stern appearance hides a sharp, observant mind. Kamui Jaizu sits them down in a traditional room overlooking a peaceful garden. He seems to have anticipated their questions about the true nature skills. He begins to tell them about a time long ago when researchers first started studying these mysterious abilities. The group listens with bated breath, eager for any scrap of information. But then, Kamui Jaiza drops a massive bombshell. "That's a conversation for after you marry Hinata." The entire room goes dead silent before erupting in shock. "Marriage?" Suzuki Hinata and Kamui Shizuku are both left completely speechless and blushing furiously. The old man isn't joking around. Information about skills is a top-tier state secret, and he simply cannot share it with anyone who isn't officially part of the family. Suzuki Hinata tries to protest, but Kamui Jaizu remains unmoved. He makes his point crystal clear. If Suzuki Hinata becomes a member of the Kamui family, the rules change. The implication hangs heavy in the air as the old man calmly sips his tea. It looks like things just got a whole lot more complicated. Suzuki Hinata is left reeling from the suggestion. Could it really be an option? The chapter leaves us on a cliffhanger as he contemplates the unexpected turn his life has taken. Back in his own room, Suzuki Hinata is still in a daze, but he's also feeling a bit proud. He's looking at his very first rare drop, a potion he managed to get during their dungeon run. He's been working hard in E90 every day, and seeing the results of his effort makes him genuinely happy. He even imagines Kagura Shino and Kamui Shizuka cheering for his success. It's the little things that keep him going. Suddenly, the door opens and his friend Fuji Hiroto enters, looking like he's just gone through a war. Suzuki Hinata is shocked to see him so beat up. "Puyi-kun, you've gotten pretty beat up," he exclaims, concerned for his friend. Fuji Hiroto laughs it off, explaining that they tried to challenge the D86 boss today. Even as a backline class, he ended up in the thick of it. Suzuki Hinata is amazed. D86 is already a C-rank dungeon, a huge step up from where they were. Seeing his friend in such a state, Suzuki Hinata invites him to stay for a bit. Fuji Hiroto agrees, heading off for a quick shower first. Meanwhile, Suzuki Hinata prepares a special surprise in room 37. He decides to use that precious rare potion he just earned. He carefully adds just a single drop into a cup of tea, a smile playing on his lips. This is what friends are for. The hidden ingredient potion, tea, is complete, and it's a recipe passed down directly from his own mother. Just as he finishes, there's a knock at the door. "Here you go," he calls out as Fuji Hiroto returns. Fuji Hiroto enters, feeling a bit sheepish about intruding so late. But the warm atmosphere and the smell of tea quickly put him at ease. As they settle in with some cookies, Fuji Hiroto takes a sip and is instantly amazed. "This is so good. It feels like my fatigue is just melting away," he sighs in relief. Suzuki Hinata is just glad the hidden ingredient, tea, is doing its job, knowing his friend needs every bit of rest before heading back into the fray. Suzuki Hinata gives him a warm smile, reminding him not to overdo it. It's a quiet, peaceful moment between two friends that feels precious in a world of constant danger. But as the steam rises from their cups, the quiet of the night marks the end of one journey and the beginning of another. Fuji Hiroto takes a long, satisfied sip of the tea, a look of pure relief washing over his face. "Yeah, thanks." He sighs, the tension from the grueling battle finally starting to leave his body. He worries that Suzuki Hinata is almost too kind, the type who could be easily tricked by others. But the days pass quickly, and before they know it, Saturday has arrived. Suzuki Hinata is back in his room, taking a moment to breathe before the next adventure begins. He checks his phone and sees a notification pop up. A small icon of a cute girl catches his eye, a familiar face that never fails to bring a gentle smile to his lips. He gazes at the screen, lost in thought for a moment. It's already been 3 weeks since then. He murmurs, a nostalgic look in his eyes as he scrolls through his old messages. It's a picture of his little sister, Rin. She looks so happy in the photo, a stark contrast to the difficult times they've faced together. Rin, her name alone is enough to fill him with a renewed sense of purpose. He looks at her photo, his expression softening as he remembers exactly who he's fighting for. A painful memory flickers in his mind. The day he left for Seishin High School. Rin didn't say a single word. She just cried. He realizes now that if he only clings to her, he'll never be able to truly move forward and provide the life she deserves. He regrets being the kind of big brother who only made her worry or became a heavy burden to carry. If only he could have handled things better back then, maybe she wouldn't have had to shed so many tears on his account. But the past is the past, and it's time to look ahead. Suzuki Hinata's gaze hardens with a new, fiery determination. I have to get stronger, he vows to himself, his voice low and resolute. Looking at a photo of Rin and their mother, his motivation becomes crystal clear. He's not just fighting for his own dreams anymore. He's doing it for his family. That's the true source of his hidden power. The next morning, Suzuki Hinata meets up with Kamui Shizuku and Kagura Shino. He's surprised to find them already together. It seems like the two girls have gotten quite close over the past few weeks. Kagura Shino is absolutely bursting with energy. All right, starting today, it's D46. She cheers, her excitement infectious as they prepare to dive into their next challenge. The trio hops on a bus heading toward the dungeon entrance. They're a striking group, and it's not long before they start attracting a bit of attention from the other passengers. Suzuki Hinata can feel the stares and hear the hushed, judgmental whispers starting up. He sighs to himself, sensing a familiar and unpleasant pattern beginning to repeat itself. The comments from the other passengers get even nastier. They can't believe two beautiful girls like Kamui Shizuku and Kagura Shino are hanging around a guy who looks so lame. Some even start whispering that he must be paying for their company. The girls are visibly beginning to fuming. Kamui Shizuku's expression turns ice cold, her gaze sharp enough to silence a room. She's clearly at her limit with the rude comments being directed at their friend. Suzuki Hinata tries to play it off, telling Kamui Shizuku not to let it get to her. They finally arrive in front of D46, but the insults from the bus are still ringing in their ears. Kagura Shino finally reaches her breaking point. "What did you say?" she explodes, her face red with pure, unadulterated fury as she remembers the judgmental voices from earlier. She's not just angry for her own sake. She's fiercely defending their leader. She makes it very clear that Suzuki Hinata is the heart of their party, and she won't stand for anyone talking down to him. Kagura Shino is absolutely livid, her voice booming as she declares that she will never forgive those who insult Hinata-kun without knowing a single thing about the kind of person he truly is. Suzuki Hinata is genuinely moved by their unwavering loyalty. He looks at his two friends, a small, humble smile forming on his face despite the awkward situation. He gives them a big, bright smile, his eyes shining with sincere gratitude. "I'm just happy you two think of me that way." "Thanks," he says, his honesty catching them both completely off guard. That smile is simply too much for them to handle. Both girls instantly turn away, their faces turning a bright shade of crimson as they try to hide how flustered they've become. Kamui Shizuku and Kagura Shino are still reeling, their faces flushed as they try to look anywhere but at Hinata. He remains completely oblivious to their reaction, already shifting his focus toward the icy challenge that lies just beyond the entrance. They stand at the threshold of D46, a dungeon notorious for its bone-chilling snowfields. Hinata pumps his fist, his spirit burning bright despite the freezing winds. "Let's get fired up and do our best." He cheers, though he knows they'll need more than just high spirits to survive the cold. Before they head into the freezing depths of D46, Suzuki Hinata surprises the girls by pulling out two heavy-duty coats. "Here, take this," he says, handing them over with a slightly nervous but caring look. Kagura Shino is impressed. She knows D46 is a freezing snowfield. But then, the genius duo strikes again. Suzuki Hinata mentions he doesn't need one because of his cold resistance, and Kamui Shizuku casually adds that she's fine too because of her own icy constitution. Kagura Shino can't believe her ears. Poor Kagura Shino. She looks absolutely defeated. It's hard to be the only normal person in a party of monsters who don't even feel the cold. But she's not taking no for an answer. Kagura Shino points a finger at both of them, declaring it a final decision. She insists that if she's the only one wearing a fluffy coat, it just won't feel like they're a real party. Suzuki Hinata is left sweat-dropping at her sudden outburst. When Kagura Shino gets something in her head, there's no arguing with her. Seeing how much it means to her, Suzuki Hinata quickly gives in. "Let's do it the way Shino wants," he says with a chuckle, reaching out and giving her a gentle, instinctive pat on the head. Kagura Shino is completely frozen, but not from the cold. She stares up at him, her face turning bright red as she tries to process the sudden affection. Suzuki Hinata realizes what he's done and pulls back, stammering about it being a reflex. He tries to dig himself out of the hole, explaining that his reflexes just kicked in because his little sister is so much like her. Meanwhile, Kamui Shizuku is watching the scene with a very suspicious expression. Then, Kamui Shizuku starts staring intensely. She's not saying a word, but her gaze is screaming for some attention of her own. Suzuki Hinata feels the pressure mounting. The awkwardness is reaching critical levels. Suzuki Hinata is sweating bullets, while Kagura Shino tries to hide her giggles behind her hands. This party is certainly unique. In the end, Suzuki Hinata gives Kamui Shizuku a head pat too, finally restoring the peace. With everyone satisfied, Kagura Shino cheers them on, telling them to change quickly so they can finally head into the dungeon. The trio starts getting into their winter gear. Suzuki Hinata zips up his coat, feeling a bit sheepish about the whole situation, but happy to see his team in such good spirits. As the girls pull on their heavy coats, Suzuki Hinata catches a few glimpses that leave him completely flustered. It's a lot for a teenage boy to handle, even for a level 0 explorer. Finally, they're all suited up. Kagura Shino strikes a pose, looking completely at home in her new gear. Suzuki Hinata, on the other hand, is still covering his face, wondering how he ended up in this situation. Standing before the jagged, icy entrance of D46, Kagura Shino tells him he'd better get used to these things now that he's an explorer. Suzuki Hinata just sighs, muttering about how they really should have provided a proper changing room for the ladies. Kagura Shino drops some harsh reality on them. In a dungeon, monster attacks can rip through clothes and armor in an instant. Kamui Shizuku looks absolutely horrified at the thought, while Suzuki Hinata realizes just how high the stakes really are. A moment of serious silence follows. They're not here to play. Explorers risk their lives every time they dive into a dungeon, and even a single moment of carelessness can be fatal. Suzuki Hinata's gaze turns serious as he prepares to lead them inside. But then, the tension breaks. Kamui Shizuku and Kagura Shino turn around, looking absolutely adorable in their new animal-themed fluffy coats. They're laughing and having a blast, and Suzuki Hinata can't help but beam with pride. This journey is just beginning. To be continued.